Hello, welcome to the Backlash, a weekly discussion about the past, present, and future of Western civilization. I am your host, Rebecca Hargraves. Hello, Dave. How are you doing, Mr. Dave Riley?
I am still sick.
Yeah?
I'm not kidding.
Don't I know it?
It's worse than the man flu. It's the parish special.
Yeah.
So it's like the accumulation of all of the germs from every kid that has licked the back of the pews at the church.
That's how it works.
Feel like death.
Yeah.
That's what's going on.
Do you know how I know that you feel like death? Because your disgusting, sticky-handed kids have given me whatever despite not going to your church, I also have the parish specials. Thanks a lot.
We are a human bioweapon.
It's disgusting.
Infecting everyone.
Just disgusting. How are you doing, Cameron? You don't look sick.
No, I'm single and ready to mingle, so I'm doing great over here.
You son of a bitch.
At least one of us is.
I know. You can find us on X at Real Backlash, our website,
That's not it. This is it. Thebacklash.net.
Thebacklash.net. Support us on subscribestar.com/thebacklash, patreon.com/thebacklash. Send your super chats that will be read live at the end of our show to thebacklash.net/superchat. Sub to us on our YouTube channel where miraculously we are monetized and are also taking super chats on YouTube. It is a new era.
Right here.
Right there.
Look at that.
14 people watching. Look at that.
That's amazing.
Big numbers.
Big
so send
numbers.
your super chats to our YouTube channel and sub to us on Rumble at Backlash Podcast. Thank you, fellas, for joining us today. Thank you, audience, for joining us today. It's going to be a great show. Thank you, our sponsors, Atlas Bullion, the finest dealer of gold and silver, Idaho Tallow, no endocrine disruptors here, and Antelope Hill, who basically needs no introduction. Everybody knows Antelope Hill, loves Antelope Hill.
If you don't know Antelope Hill, you're doing it wrong.
Yep. I had a crazy week, terrible week.
Why?
Well, I went to Glacier with my family where I was surrounded by Jeets. Onslaught of Jeets in the middle of Montana. It was a whole thing. And then my daughter got cellulitis of her eye after a swamp bite, this is the week I'm having, after a wasp sting, and it got horribly inflamed, and she had to have the most serious antibiotic intravenously that exists.
That's not good.
No, and her face was so swollen, and it was just a nightmare going to an unfamiliar ER and having to deal with that. And now her gut microbiome is totally blasted. I've been like force feeding her kimchi and stuff.
You know what you got to get if you're and of course this is not a paid sponsorship, although we would like it to be.
Oh yeah.
Olipop. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Olipop before. They are not paying us to do an ad.
No, they're going to message us and be like, please do not.
They're going to be like, please disassociate us from your brand. We want nothing to do with you. But I think they're great. They're great for your gut biome. Yeah, that whole thing.
Was your week terrible?
We went to the fair. We had a good time.
Yeah.
The North Idaho State Fair. Wonderful. We got to see the prized pigs and cows and some of the goats.
Petting zoo? Did you do the petting zoo?
The children did the petting zoo.
Did you pet the kangaroo?
There was a kangaroo?
There was a kangaroo there.
What?
It was a baby kangaroo.
I missed that. I did see the Budweiser Clydesdale horses.
Yeah,
We
they're
took a
really
little choo-choo train ride.
Cute.
It was great. My son loved it.
Have you noticed every year the people get fatter?
Yes.
And the teenagers get sluttier?
Yes.
Every year I go to the fair and I'm like, this must be the worst quality of person.
I will say that the fat to not fat ratio at the North Idaho State Fair is much better than at the Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania Fair.
Oh, well, I believe that. Yeah.
That is all fat people.
I mean, is this representative of
America?
Every time I go to a fair, I'm like, this can't be. This can't be representative of what the average American looks like. It's like tattoos and people yelling at their kids and everyone's mixed race and just grotesquely fat.
Did see a lot of that going on, a lot of interracial children. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
This is what happens. American women have been propagandized into thinking that athletes and rappers are the highest status of American society. And so they seek that out to reproduce with. And it is not good.
On that note,
for the white
race. On that note, we have a really depressing show prepped for you. We really do. We're going to talk Jewish pedophiles. We're going to talk intergenerational conflict. We're going to talk about the current financial situation in the West, which is just dismal. Some new Bureau of Labor statistics have come out on payroll.
I feel like we're missing something though.
Which thing?
Well, I feel like, sorry, Cam, I got to move you out of the way for a second, but we are missing the giant elephant in the room.
I have been reassured thoroughly that this is not a pipe bomb, but I shook it and it sounds a lot like a pipe bomb. So
we're not supposed to say those kinds of words in the first 10 minutes of YouTube to stay monetized.
You didn't tell me that.
I didn't know that. I just made that up.
Pipe bomb.
Oh boy. So anyway, yeah.
Let's open this.
Should we open it now or should we open it later? Tell us in the chat what you want. I guess
let's open it later.
Give us a 1 in the chat if you want us to open this now, or a 2 if you think we should punt that off onto the super chats. And
let's do it later.
Let's get some chat
so I can have
feedback.
a few more minutes of life.
Okay.
Before it's ended spectacularly on
in
air.
case it is a pipe bomb. You know
what, though?
At least then we would actually like have a show today, as opposed to just like, hey, everybody, how you doing?
Yeah. It would be our best viewed show ever, though.
Well, the suspense has to build.
Okay.
Stay tuned and you will watch us get wiped off the face of the earth.
I'm having an Obama moment. Your house
What,
has
with this
more
fly?
flies. No, don't get the assault rifle out. No. Did you get it?
No.
Okay,
right.
just stop. Stop.
All right.
Tell us
It'll be
about
fine.
these Jewish pedos.
I don't know. I know as much as you do. What I do know is that in Nevada, the big news this week is this is coming from Reuters. U.S. denies intervening in case of Israeli official accused of Nevada sex abuse. Israeli official, he is the head of Israeli cybersecurity, Tom Alexandrovich, was arrested in Nevada before being released. The State Department says that officials were not involved in the case. Las Vegas police announced the arrest late last week after an undercover operation. So basically what had happened is, it looks like U.S. police, I don't know what agency necessarily, set up some sort of sting operation where they were pretending to be a young kid on a dating app or something like this. And they were luring people in, and they nabbed, I believe, 5 Israeli officials. And it's not just any officials. I mean, this guy, Tom Alexandrovich? Yeah, Tom Artyom Alexandrovich. It was one of 8 people. Here we are, spreading disinformation already. And he is the head of Israel's National Cyber Directorate. Let me make that a little bit bigger.
Boy, they can't help themselves.
So this isn't exactly like some small thing. And so
State Department's taking some heat.
as they should be.
So they released a statement and they said that Alexandrovich did not claim diplomatic immunity and was released by a state judge pending a court date. Any claims the U.S. government intervened are false. However, this Al Jazeera article, if you can pull that up, some random criminal defense lawyer in Nevada told Al Jazeera that this is very strange. He said, average Joe gets arrested. He would appear in front of the justice of the peace within 24 hours. The justice of the peace in that county would issue bail conditions, which very typically would include a GPS device, restrictions on movement, and not being allowed to leave the state. So the fact that this individual was not only allowed to leave without an ankle bracelet or GPS, and not only was allowed to leave the state, but also the country, is highly unusual and suspect.
It's not only that, but the person that allowed Alexandrovich to leave, by the way, very Russian name, interesting. There is a very interesting Russian-Israel connection, especially among the Russian Jewish mafia, the Russian oligarchy that kind of bought up a lot of the big businesses that they have in Russia. We should probably dedicate like an episode to this at some point, unpacking this, bring in an expert maybe. But Putin does have a problem on his hands with some of these oligarch Jews. Anyway, so this guy was let go, was allowed to leave by none other than the United States Attorney, Sigal Chattah, weird name, interesting name. But she is an Israeli-born Jewish acting U.S. attorney for Nevada. Sigal Chattah, who let the Israeli pedophile escape, deactivated her X account because she started getting some serious pushback here. Now, I do believe that I don't have it in the show notes because I was sick today. Come on, you. Give me some.
Oh, she's
media.
back.
Well, that's her U.S. attorney thing. What's his name? Sargon and Jetty. He uncovered a lot of interesting stuff about this woman. I think, is this the article or the video? No. That ain't it. Well, anyway, let's put her up on the screen so you can see.
Ugh.
Meet U.S. Acting Attorney Sigal Chadha. She serves as the Chief Federal Law Enforcement Officer of the District of Nevada. Now, of course, like, again, take another step back here and, like, let's think about this. Okay, Nevada, Las Vegas, Jewish mafia.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, you know, we also had, what was the other issue that was the Las Vegas shooter? We still haven't gotten to the bottom of that. I mean,
they did. They said there was no known motive.
Right.
It's just
I mean, and then, you know, the only other plausible explanation came from, like, what, Laura Loomer, that it was like a hit on Mohammed bin Salman, which is interesting. I mean, I don't know what the hell happened in Nevada, but I do know that it is messed up. Here it is. This is from Max Blumenthal. This was her this was her campaign video on Mohammed bin Salman. Oh, wait. I mean, I don't know what the hell. Shut up, dude. Nobody wants to hear you
Who's
talk.
that?
Here.
The radical left is burning down our country and attacking Jews in the streets, and Ilhan Omar is fanning the flame. I'm Sigal Chadha, an Israeli-born lawyer running to be America's #1 conservative attorney general. I'll stand up to Ilhan Omar and take her team to court for defunding our police, opening our borders, and teaching our kids to hate each other based on the color of their skin. I need your help. The left is pouring money into this seat so they can put more criminals on the streets. Can you chip in $25 right now? If enough patriots come together, we'll be able to build a grassroots campaign necessary to stop Ilhan Omar in her tracks. It's time that we put strong female lawyers like myself forward to make our case.
That was not a question. Thank you.
She's going to hate it if this message goes viral. Thanks for your support, and God bless America.
Can you chip in $25?
My name is Sigal Chadha, and I approve this message.
Can you chip in $25 so that I can send all the Israeli pedophiles back to Israel?
$25? What do you need $20 for? My last $15? I can't believe that you're asking me for $10. Help, police! She's trying to rob me of my last $50.
This is the most Jewish thing I've ever seen in my life. Did you also hear this week that 100% of Thai immigrants in Israel at some sort of, I don't know what they were doing, were raped? 100% of them.
Oh my God. And let's also,
there is a Jewish plastic surgery phenotype that is emerging. Like, this chick looks just like Laura Loomer to me. Just looks just like Laura Loomer.
Woof.
Yeah.
You know, and it's really funny. I should have heard about her. I've done enough work in Nevada, like political consulting work down there, that I should have heard of this woman. Never heard of her before. But
Maria Abramovich has really let herself go.
For real.
You guys are hilarious.
Does.
We got a two-tier justice system, obviously, is paired with all these financial woes, foreign wars, influx of immigrants. I mean, what are we going to do? It's no wonder that younger generations are rebelling. Let's talk about these financial issues. Let's pull up clip 1, talk a little bit about how the Fed is feeling trapped. There it is.
Oh, wait, hold on. We didn't properly transition this. We could have transitioned it with my tweet, which is where you got this two-tiered thing.
Oh, sorry.
No, I don't want to promote my tweet. Thank you. We do. We have a two-tiered justice system in America. This is one for Jews and one for everyone else.
Yeah.
And now we can look at
what the Fed's dealing with, Francine, and you're seeing it in the data day to day, is the continuing tug of war between the employment and growth side and the inflation side. And you and I have talked about this on this program. Their greatest desire is to avoid having both problems. They don't want that word stagflation. And it's playing out, markets and everybody watching this in the data day to day. So I think a week or two ago, you had a good CPI number, stock market, equities rally, and literally a day or two later, you have a hotter than expected PPI number, and the markets go the other way. So nobody really knows knows which side is going to be the bigger problem. So they've tried to straddle that, and that's why they've kept rates where they are all year long, despite lots of pressures on them from all directions. I think, if anything, they're starting to tilt toward a first cut, because the employment numbers in the last 3 or 4 months are definitely in a different spot than they were. And unemployment is starting to tick up, but workforce participation is, in particular, down more. So he may use this as an opportunity to say, to try to foreshadow that a little bit. Yep. I still think before I would say that they will definitely cut in the September meeting, they will watch the data again for the reasons that I'm talking about here. It's so at the margin close on both sides. Mm-hmm. They'll see what happens between the end of August and the end of the meeting later in September before they actually make a decision. But I think they're starting to tilt toward a cut at the September meeting.
Oh, man. So people might be thinking, well, it can't possibly be worse than a few years ago. Let's do clip 2 and 3. This is the U.S. debt climbing from previous years and interest rates climbing as well.
Let's see.
Loading.
Up to the end of June in 2025, the federal government is at a deficit of $1.33 trillion. So this just means that they spent $1.33 trillion more than they had coming in this year up to that point. And this is actually worse than 2024, but it's slightly better than 2023. So I want to show you this. Okay, so you see how the deficit goes down here in April. So I want to explain this. So in this time frame, it's tax season and Q1 tax deposits. So you have a lot of tax money that's coming in, and there's more money coming in than going out during this window of time. So that makes sense, right? Now, when you look at this light purple line right here, which is 2025, and you see it trending downward. So the government actually had a $27 billion surplus in June, which sounds amazing. So you may get the impression like, wow, things are turning around. The government is not overspending, but unfortunately, that is not the case. So I don't want to rain on the parade, but this is what actually happened. So payments that were supposed to be made on June 1st were made on May 30th because June 1st was a Sunday. So it made June look better than it really was. So if those payments were made on June 1st, then the government would have ran a $71 billion deficit in June. And that would have brought the year-to-date deficit up to $1.4 trillion, which is actually worse than 2023. And of course, that's worse than last year as well.
Oh, man.
Anyways.
Let's go right into 3 and talk about interest rates. Then we can talk about this BLS data and get Cameron's input.
I've got it, yeah.
Oh, it's so bad.
So in Q4 of 2025, the Treasury expects to borrow just over $1 trillion. In Q1 of 2026, they expect to borrow $590 billion. Now, this is very concerning because as the government accumulates more and more debt, they need to pay more interest. And of course, it's definitely not helping that interest rates are relatively high, at least compared to the prior decade. And this just means that more of our tax dollars are going towards paying interest instead of going towards more productive expenditures. And it's just sad because we're paying $1 trillion of interest this year. That's what's going to happen. And the government collects $5 trillion a year. That means 20% of all the tax money that we give them is going towards paying interest. Now, I just want you to take a look at how much more manageable the situation was back in 2020 and 2021. This was when the government had much less debt and the interest rates were lower.
This guy sounds Jewish.
So back then, the interest expense was around $300 billion a year. And I'd say it's pretty straightforward. It's like if you have credit card debts, if you have a low balance and a low teaser introductory rates, then the monthly payments are going to be manageable. But as you get deeper into debt and your interest rate jumps up, then you're going to be in serious trouble.
Okay, let's do 4 and then
rapid fire clips.
I know, because I want to hear Cameron's holistic opinion on all of this. This is just so shocking. Good Lord. This is just 649.
I was watching the tape when you joined us back in June, the last time you were on the show. You said that the private sector was already somewhat in a recession even before the data confirmed it. Now, with wholesale inflation up, we got continuing jobless claims near multi-year highs and then delinquencies rising. Do you see that call being validated?
Well, certainly. And we've also had another large revision to the payrolls data that validates the fact that net job destruction began in the second quarter of 2024. There's a certain irony in terms of how market participants are treating this big shock downward revision in July. But when you add it all up, 24 of the last 30 months have seen downward revisions from what was originally reported by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So this is nothing new. And we are indeed seeing the vestiges of this. You mentioned delinquency rates, whether it be credit cards, and now we're going to pile on the effect of having to repay these student loans. So, I don't think that the last chapter has been written in terms of distress on U.S. household bank sheets.
Can you pull up this tweet on the BLS revised payrolls?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Okay. On September 9th, the Bureau of Labor Statistics will release its preliminary benchmark revision to non-farm payrolls for April 2024 through March 2025. Goldman Sachs estimates the revision could cut reported payrolls by 550,000 to 950,000 jobs. This implies payroll growth was overstated by a massive 45,000 to 80,000 jobs per month. If confirmed, it would mark the largest 12-month revision since 2010. This also follows an earlier 589,000 downward adjustment for the year ending in March 2024. What is happening with labor market data? Cameron, can you explain? Well, I mean, it's obvious to most of our audience, but why are they doing this? And what's actually going on with our economy? How much time do we have left?
Yeah, so let's talk some numbers because they are pretty mind-bending. So if you go back to January of 2007, so this is before the Great Recession, it's before the subprime mortgage crisis, the global financial crisis, all the rest of it. We had a national debt of $8 trillion, okay? Now you go back 8 years before that, when Clinton left office, I think it was about $4 trillion. And Clinton actually ran some surpluses, some annual budget surpluses. But of course, you had entitlements that he was carrying over because there were never any structural changes to that. So we still had structural debt. But around $4 trillion in 2000, when Clinton left office and Bush came in, about $9 trillion in 2007 before Obama comes in. By 2019, that number is $22 trillion. By 2023, it's about 33 trillion. That's September of 23, so about 2 years ago. And now it's $37 trillion. $37 trillion. Now, that's the sort of baseline number because you gotta figure there's a lot of off the books accounting that's not actually factoring in. One of which is the GSEs, the government sponsored enterprises. So that's Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. There's a lot of subprime mortgage debt in the GSEs, and I've heard it's anywhere between $8 and $10 trillion. Now, the government also technically has liability for that. Then you consider the off the balance sheet liabilities. So these are the IOUs that we owe into the future. I've heard anywhere from $100 to $200 trillion. So when you consider the magnitude of those numbers, remember our GDP, I mean, let's just spot it at 30 trillion a year, which is being generous. We have no way of paying any of this back at all. It's a complete Ponzi scheme. So what's beginning to happen is that you're starting to see a feedback loop and you're starting to see these numbers really start to pick up. And now what's key is that the interest rates are rising. Now that brings us back to the Fed. So the Fed has their annual meeting in Jackson Hole. Jackson Hole is a pretty nice place, by the way. I don't know if you guys have ever been, but you should go if you haven't. So they've been doing this annual meeting in Jackson Hole, I think, since the 80s because Paul Volcker liked to fly fish. So they decided to do it there. At any rate, this comes at a very precarious time. The Fed was smooth sailing over the last, I'd say, 6 to 12 months because they assumed that inflation was coming down, which meant that they could drop interest rates. Well, it seems, not just based on the last BLS report, but based on the last 4 or 5 years of data, that the economy, the underlying structure of the economy, is a total mess. Now, some people have called this a Great Depression, but a Great Depression that sort of extended over a long period of time, and it's happened outside of the top 10%. So because the top 10% controls so much of the economy, nobody's paid much attention. And what's sort of caught the underlying economy, the underlying, call it 60 to 70% of the population is fiscal spending. But now financing fiscal spending, well, that's becoming too expensive as well. So the chair of the Fed, Jerome Powell, he faces a very tough choice. Does he cut rates and risk inflation spiking again? And it looks like that may be happening already. Does he lower rates to deal with an economy that's potentially imploding, but also signal potentially that he's capitulating to Donald Trump, who's been sort of chiding him on Twitter and in public, calling him an idiot, saying that he's too late, saying he doesn't know how to do his job, which jeopardizes the independence of the Fed institution. So basically, they're caught, they're trapped. And the economy, it seems, is really beginning to fall apart. The bigger story here, the takeaway is that we're in a kind of financial emergency. And I think to some degree, that financial emergency is what motivated Donald Trump to set up this summit in Alaska with the Russians, because he's trying to pivot away from that debacle so that he can refocus domestically at home.
Yeah, and this isn't the only thing. I think I texted this to you, Cam. It's not just America that's going through this crazy financial shit. Take a look at what happened to Spain's 10-year bond. It went up. Look at this chart. This is retarded. It went up 14% in one candle. Hello? Like, this is not good. Not good.
Now, some of this too. If you bring up a chart, Dave, of interest rates on U.S. Federal debt in the 1980s, you'll see that historically speaking, our interest rates were a lot higher than they are today. We're actually at historically low levels. So what you're seeing, I think, globally and in the United States, is a sort of reversion to the mean. In other words, interest rates are starting to go back to those historic levels. And the danger is that if you go back to the 80s, you'll notice that interest rates didn't go linearly in a very slow pace from 5 to 10%. They went from 5 to 10, and then I think they peaked around 20% in the mid 1980s. That's where we're headed. And obviously at these debt levels, you're talking about making interest payments that are in the trillions of dollars and could potentially get to 10 trillion or 15 trillion, depending on how out of control interest rates get. Now, what people will say is that no matter what happens, the Fed can print money. No matter what happens, they can manipulate interest rates. The problem is that at these debt levels, you get animal spirits. That means you get bond vigilantes, you get financial institutions that start to take the other side of the trade. They start to fire sale the U.S. Treasury bonds they've got. They start to sell into this sort of fire sale that's happening domestically. And I think that's where we're headed. In other words, I think you're going to see a global fire sale, not just of U.S. Treasury bonds, but of sovereign bonds around the world. And that will mean you get a banking crisis. And that'll mean you see a kind of depression in the United States, the likes of which we haven't seen since the 1930s. Oh. That's where we're headed.
Well, and not only that, but we were talking about this a couple of episodes ago, like even over the past 10, 15 years, if you look at the stock market valued in gold. And by the way, this is not just one giant effing ad for atlasbullion.com/thebacklash. Okay, this is not an ad. This is like actual news that we're talking about. But when you do look at the stock market divided by gold as opposed to dollars, we've already lived through in the past 10, 15 years a crash as big, if not bigger, than the Great Depression, which is crazy. And it's like really fucked up to think about, because most Americans never think about the U.S. economy divided by anything other than dollars. You know what I mean? And it's really interesting too, like, having gone to the fair this week, right? You want to get like a pina colada drink to cool off at the fair? Guess how much that was?
$14.
$20.
No way. Ugh.
$20. $15 for a lemonade. Okay. Baked potato, $9. Are you kidding me? This is not normal. This is not, inflation has gone away. It has gotten worse, actually, year over year, at least at the fair it has.
It's not just the squeeze that we're experiencing on a day-to-day basis, although that is making the average American freak out. But they're looking at this massive amount of foreign spending.
Yeah.
And I think the average American thinks that the economy kind of works like this. You can take some money and allocate it differently. You can put it towards the debt. I mean, it's so convoluted and bureaucratic that it doesn't actually work like that.
Ever seen this chart?
I have.
This is from WTFHappened in1971.com. I will never stop plugging that website. It started in like 1970. We started giving Israel military aid. And as of this chart, it hit $251 billion. And remember, these numbers that we're looking at on this here chart, this is not adjusted for inflation. This is just like the actual money. Here, hold on. Where am I? There I am.
It's not adjusted for inflation?
This is not adjusted for inflation. This line, I'm like doing the weatherman thing.
Is this breaking your brain right now?
This line that you see going up over here is not adjusted for inflation. That's just the money that we've spent. If you adjusted that for inflation, it would be way, way bigger than that. And, you know, when you take into account the amount of money that it would cost to solve the homelessness problem, the food, whatever, like, poverty issues we have in this country, college debt crisis. Like, we could forgive people's college debts over like 4 times if we weren't giving all of this money to Israel. And that's just Israel. That's not talking about Jordan, Egypt, Syria, or any of these other countries around them that we're paying off. And it's also not taking into account any of the foreign wars that we've been in for the last 25 years.
Yeah. I mean, the focus is on Ukraine right now and the massive amount of money we've given them.
And we'll get to that. There's a big story about Ukraine.
Just bear in mind, we spend $100 billion a year on food stamps, okay? Food stamps. And that's a relatively small program compared to the entitlements, right? Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, which exhausts, I think, all practically of the $4 to $4.5 trillion that we collect annually in revenue. Now, remember that a lot of these projections, too, they assume, as the Congressional Budget Office does, that we don't have a recession, right? That we don't have an economic crisis like 2008, like COVID in 2020, all over again. That's almost certainly unrealistic, right? We're going to have some other crisis, which is going to necessitate even more spending. The issue is, again, how do you finance the interest that you're paying on this ballooning debt? And that eventually takes you into a feedback loop that causes a default spiral. And when you have to start making big cuts, look, you can start with defense if you want to. That's fine. We spend about, $800 billion a year on defense. But spending trillions of dollars on interest, or rather having to finance interest rates that are costing you $1 trillion, $2 trillion, $3 trillion, or $4 trillion a year, that means it's going to cut into the entitlement programs themselves, or programs like welfare and food stamps, that a lot of people who are living sort of day by day, paycheck to paycheck, that's going to create a very ugly and dangerous situation on the streets. And like I said, and have been saying since we started this podcast, that is where we are headed, and you cannot print your way out of it. Eventually, interest rates start to spike. You get into that feedback loop, and you've got to implement austerity measures, whether you want to or not. I think that this is going to happen.
Now, have you two? There is a kind of a new theory that I haven't talked about with you guys in our little chat. So this is going to be coming out of totally left field for me. But the administration, this guy, where is he? I just had him up on the screen. This guy, Scott
Bessent, yeah.
Oh, well, what would I call him? He's tiptoeing through the tulips. He's a fudge packer. He's a homosexual. He likes, I don't have any.
I like it when you use your ASMR voice to say controversial things, like it's going to protect you or something.
So anyway, this is the guy that runs the Treasury, right? This is essentially the guy that is in charge of the United States economy. He's a homosexual. He's married to a man. He's purchased a child. He's a human trafficker, essentially. As we know, the seventh circle of hell is filled with sodomites and usurers. This is who is in charge of our country. And his plan, which I have just become privy to this week, at least according to sources online that will remain undisclosed, is twofold, just so that the audience is aware. On the one hand, the Treasury, the Fed, the Trump administration, they are hoping and praying to God that they are going to be able to stop the bleeding on the short end of the bond market. This is with like the 1 and 2 year Treasury notes with stable coins. And of course, all of this is an article from Fortune, just came out 12 hours ago. Everyone is, Goldman Sachs says we're on the verge of a stablecoin gold rush worth trillions. So they are looking at, on the short end of the bond market, plugging the hole with stablecoins, the shitcoin casino. And then on the long end, Cameron, I don't know if you've heard about this, but this has been floated. This article is from November 2024. Issuing a 50-year Treasury bond at 0% interest backed by gold that will apparently be redeemable in gold. And according to this,
50 years.
Who in their right mind would buy a 50-year bond from the United States? I would.
Yeah, and it doesn't pay any yield. Look, it's bullshit, right? I mean, pardon my French, but that's what it is. It's just a load of odorous excrement. Absolutely nobody's going to show up for that. Now, they're already having problems in some of these auctions. In fact, we had a botched 30-year auction, I want to say, 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
That moves yields, right? So you have to understand, right, that the bond market is basically structured in such a way that at the short end, which are these so-called T-bills, which are, I think, less than 12 months, and then you get notes, and then you get bonds, which are longer duration. What the U.S. government has had to do is they've had to cycle out long duration debt. So this is debt that's 10 years, 20 years, 30 years in maturity, meaning I buy the IOU, I buy the Treasury bond, I get my principal back in 10 years or 20 years plus interest. Nobody's buying that at all, which is why yields are continuing to rise at the long end. And they've had to front load it by issuing more and more and more debt at the front end, as Dave said, in T-bills. So this is short duration. This is basically like a certificate of deposit. So you buy it, you get it back in 6 months or 9 months or what have you, plus interest. The problem is when you do that, you create volatility and you get a lot of trading. You guys probably remember we talked about something called the basis trade like 3 or 4 months ago. When you have a lot of trading that goes into the bond market and it becomes less liquid and less stable, all of a sudden you get spikes in yields. And a lot of paper around the world, a lot of investment vehicles are priced based on that yield. That means things start to break. It means banks start to experience bank runs, right? One of which in particular is Bank of America. Bank of America is sitting on almost $1 trillion in unrealized losses because they're holding all of this U.S. Treasury debt that they piled into in 2020, thinking that interest rates would stay low, meaning bond prices would stay high. That has reversed. And so basically Bank of America is where Silicon Valley Bank was a couple years ago. And I think if you don't remember, Silicon Valley had a historic bank run. There was $1 million per second that was pulled out of that bank in a 48-hour period. This is the kind of spring-loaded nature that you get into if you have to issue all of this debt that's short duration, meaning people trade in and out of it all the time. Mm-hmm. So that's the risk that they're running. And that's why you're starting to see yields move up and down erratically. And as I said, so many investment vehicles are priced based on those yields. So if they start moving erratically, things are going to break.
Yep, they are. And I want to turn this into an advertisement now for Atlas Bullion, because based on the numbers, I mean, I was listening to a podcast last night, and it's like, you know, people are throwing out numbers like $25,000 an ounce for gold. That's like retarded. Yeah. But according to the money supply, the amount of new money supply that we've put out there, the amount of debt that we currently have, something, I forget what it was, but there was some calculation basically for every, I can't remember what it was, but it was like for every certain amount that we get in bonds, then we can pay off for every $4,000 that the price of gold goes up, we could revalue our gold stockpile and take $1 trillion off of the national debt. So in order for the national debt, which is $37 trillion, right? That's what, 37 times 4? That's a lot, right? So the idea that we're going to do something like, I mean, and it does make sense that, you know, we would be weakening the dollar. I mean, if we want to bring back manufacturing, if we want to bring jobs back to the country, if we want to start exporting goods, we are going to need to radically devalue the dollar, which means high inflation, which means prices are going to go up for everything. And basically, the only way that you're going to be able to preserve your wealth is hard assets.
Yeah.
Things like Bitcoin, things like gold, things like silver. And if you are like us and you think that this is like shit's going to hit the fan, I would not be going through this period of time without some gold.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Don't, you know, if you need money, obviously, like, don't put yourself into debt, you know, accumulating gold. But you can, with our friends, atlasbullion.com/backlash. They have gold and silver subscriptions that help not only subsidize this show so that we can be here to help, you know, decode some of the bullshit going on in the markets for you, but also so that you can preserve your wealth with plans as low as $55 a month on the silver subscription, $200 a month on gold subscriptions. It is not a bad time. I mean, I know that gold is at historic highs, but you look at the situation that we're in, we have to print more money. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I think Cameron and I always argue, because I call it money printing, he calls it default. And it is default. It is a default. It's a soft default, but this is what's going to happen. There's no way out of this.
I'm watching an interesting.
Well, here's a different way to think about it. I don't want to get too far in the weeds because it's not really the topic of conversation, but this is important. What has changed in the international financial system, okay, over the last 20 years hasn't really sunk in with a lot of people in the West. But in 2002, the Chinese launched something called the Shanghai Gold Exchange. And when they did, they encouraged then, as they do today, Chinese citizens to hold gold. Now, most Americans don't own any gold, but in China and Asia in general, they do. In 2014, the Chinese launched the Shanghai Gold Exchange International. Now, the reason I mention that, and I've said this a couple times on this podcast, but I haven't really elaborated, and maybe we'll do a show that goes into this in more detail. What has happened over the last 200 years, really since the end of the Napoleonic Wars and the expansion of the British Empire, is that you have seen a global banking cartel that's centered in the city of London and in New York City dominate the world. And that was, the first iteration was started with the British Empire, in which they established banking franchises all over the world, places like HSBC, Hong Kong Singapore Bank, which was founded in the 19th century largely to subsidize trade in Asia, okay? The City of London and New York City represent the twin pillars of Western finance, largely because they control the gold markets. And the gold markets are centered in the LBMA, the London Bullion Market Association, and the COMEX, which is in the United States. And of course, the ultimate repository of gold in the world was the United States at the end of World War II, right? Most of our gold is in Fort Knox, it's in New York City, and then I guess some of it is in West Point. Well, since the Chinese launched the Shanghai Gold Exchange in 2002 and then internationalized it in 2014, they have been making very large purchases. Nobody knows how big, by the way, and the Chinese don't advertise it, of gold. The Russians have as well. Many Eurasian republics have, and frankly, Asian countries across the board, particularly China and India. What's happened in the last 10 years is basically there's been a swap. Countries have eliminated their holdings of Treasury bonds in favor of accumulating gold. Now, the reason I mention that is because when Trump became president, both of you will probably remember that Scott Bessent, Elon Musk, and Trump were all talking about gold, revaluing it, auditing it, and then all of a sudden that sort of disappeared. At the same time that happened, there was supposedly a large ordering of gold, physical gold, that was taken for physical delivery from the LBMA and shipped into the United States. Now, a lot of people don't know, I should say nobody knows for sure who that buyer was, but a lot of people suspect it was the United States. Now, some people thought at the time this was because we were going to revalue gold. But actually, I think it's because we don't have the gold that we say we do, right? And that a lot of the gold that was in the West 10 and 20 years ago has actually been shifted to the East. Now, the reason I say that is because if that's true, and if there is more gold in the East than there is in the West, we can't repeg to gold, because that means that the whole world will basically fire sale US dollar denominated assets. That means that our stock markets, our banks, our treasury bonds, all of it will sink to zero. I mean, I'm exaggerating slightly, but basically you would see a massive deflationary crash in US dollar denominated assets. That is exactly what I think is eventually going to happen. And the Russians have been pushing for a repeg and a new monetary global order through BRICS for the last 10 years. This is something Putin has been talking about for a long, long time. So if things get worse here financially, if escalation continues overseas, we're going to find out who has all the gold, who has the physical supply. And my guess is it's sitting in Asian banks, and it's probably in Shanghai. It's probably not in the United States.
Yeah. There's a video I want to play.
Sure.
It's 2 minutes or whatever, but it's on multiple levels. A, the narrative of it. It kind of puts a lot of this into perspective for people with the American economy anyway. B, also, it's amazing what AI video is doing these days. I mean, this kind of an operation would have cost $20,000, $30,000 even 2 years ago. So, but this is just a brief history, kind of like putting a little exclamation point on what we've been talking about as far as this gold shit is concerned.
America's gold was supposed to back the dollar. Leaving the gold standard was the most costly mistake we ever made.
What was so bad about gold?
It kept them honest, but they wanted power. You know, kid, folks today think this is just how life's supposed to be.
What do you mean?
Back in my day, one job could feed a family. My mother stayed home, father worked, and we ate together every night. Didn't realize how good we had it. After the World War, they promised gold-backed dollars, but they broke that promise. They printed paper backed by nothing, funded wars we couldn't afford and shouldn't have been involved in. But France caught on and sent a warship to get back their gold. Truth is, if more countries followed, our vaults would be empty and game over.
I have directed the Secretary of the Treasury to take the action necessary to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold.
Turns out, when you fake the money, everything else follows, and you screw the next generation over. And it snowballs, kid. Prices shot up, paychecks didn't, life got tougher, and nobody knew why. We tried raising our kids the old way, but we didn't have the time or the money.
So you outsourced parenting?
Yeah, I guess you could say we did. Government schools raised them, and the TV taught them bad morals. They learned debt, not savings. Bought houses they couldn't afford. Played video games, gambling, antidepressants, and crimes. Families fractured. Divorce rates doubled. Birth rates plummeted. Things got so bad, people started financing Chipotle.
Financing a burrito?
Yeah, it's getting bad. Obesity, people eating cheap slop instead of real food. We got softer, sicker, and lazier. A nation in decline. But it didn't happen overnight. When Nixon left the gold standard, we traded sound money for a lifetime of debt.
How will they ever pay it back?
I don't think they plan to. Both sides keep spending like there's no tomorrow and leaving the bill to your generation. We didn't get it right, but you've still got a chance. So, take the reins, kid. Hold your ground and don't give up on sound money.
Somebody said, boomers caring about future generations. This is obviously AI.
Yeah, obviously. That comes from TFTC. Great little group of people down there in Austin, Texas.
Man.
They're putting out some great content. But yeah, it's, one war after another. They got to keep making new money, making new excuses.
You know, I see a lot of people just shut down at the talk of the economic situation. I think it's such an insurmountable amount of money that it just seems like monopoly money at this point. And I'm seeing a lot of people in the live chat discuss accelerationism and like this doesn't even matter to me. That somebody said I stopped caring about the economy in 2009 because what am I supposed to do about it? The situation is obviously irreparable. So I think that tweets like this are really important. Let's talk about this Ukraine thing, because when we no longer have a grasp on the economic situation, talking about the loss of life, surely that's going to get some people to realize not just the financial, but the moral gravity of the situation that we're in. Cameron sent us this. This is from DD Geopolitics. Definitely sub to them on
X.
Yes.
I think they also have a podcast that they do. Very good stuff.
This is just unbelievable. Like, I could not believe what I was reading today. Ukraine's military losses exposed 1.7 million dead and missing. Have you heard any of the numbers come close to this? I've heard 500,000, but 1.7.
The Russian propagandists, the Putin apologists, they've been saying this for a long time.
It's just incredible.
But now we've got, again, thanks to DD Geopol and some Russian hacking group, there is evidence. I mean, I'll pull some of these
They have reportedly breached the Ukrainian General Staff's database, revealing catastrophic losses of the armed forces of Ukraine. According to the compromised digital registry, if the data is correct, Ukraine lost 1.721 million troops. They're killed or missing over 3 years in the conflict. The biggest year, the heaviest year yet, is 2025 with 621,000 losses. Each record contains names, circumstances, and locations of death or disappeared, personnel files, family contacts, photographs. The hack was carried out by groups including Killnet, et cetera, et cetera. The hackers now hold terabytes of sensitive material for full loss registries, personnel data of Ukraine's Special Operations and Intelligence Command, as well as lists of all foreign arms suppliers and the weapons delivered from 2022 to 2025. I mean, it's so detailed that it's hard for me to believe that this is not real.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is what the people on the ground have been saying. People like, Patrick Lancaster, who's an independent YouTuber, podcast guy. He literally goes around in like a bulletproof vest and like a helmet. And he's been reporting on the front lines of the war since it started in 2014. It did not start in 2022, by the way. People seem to not understand that. And, this is something else that I wanted to bring up, because I had I had this post go like mega super duper stupid levels of viral. Where is it? Let me see if I pull it up. And it was about Putin, going around, making the sign of the cross, kneeling publicly, praying for the dead soldiers in Russia. I don't know why this got 10 million views, 140. Bro, that's beyond me. But in the replies, I keep getting people that are like, Putin started this war. Putin started it. Putin's killing his own people. He's a dictator. He's evil. He's blah, 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 blah. Well, no, actually, the guy that started this war, I can't spell and type at the same time, was this piece of shit, Igor Kolomoisky, okay? Just in case people aren't aware of who this guy is or what his deal is, Igor Kolomoisky is one of the richest people in the world. That's down a little bit, down to $1 billion on the Forbes richest in the world list.
Goy, I assume.
No. Igor Kolomoisky is the founder of the Ukrainian Privat Bank. He also owns the local Dnipro basketball team, soccer team. He also owns 1+1 Media, which was, I believe it still is, the largest media empire in Ukraine. And that was also the media company responsible for a television show which came out in about 2014 called The Servant of the People. And I don't think people know about this, Servant of the People. Let me pull this up. This was a 2015 drama featuring none other than Vladimir Zelensky, who played a unknowing school teacher that was clipped, I guess, like he was teaching his class, his English class or whatever, and he goes on a rant about how everybody in politics is fake and, they don't care about us, blah, blah, blah.
It's like they're playing a joke on us.
And this TV show rocketed Zelensky to the presidency. And while he was campaigning, he changed the name of his party to the Servant of the People Party, the name of the fucking TV show that he was in. He was being driven around in limousines by Igor Kolomoisky. And it was Vladimir Zelensky that started the second wave of aggression in 2021 and 2022 against the native Russian-speaking populace in the Donbass. Now, the other thing that Igor Kolomoisky is responsible for that I don't think a lot of people know is he was the guy that bankrolled Azov Battalion, the neo-Nazi weird group of like Jews, like extremist Jews and like, I guess, white nationalists allegedly, that control that region. But what people don't understand is that they got their money from this Jewish oligarch. So they got to do all the Heil Hitler, Nazi saluting, running around, doing their pagan whatever, all bankrolled by Jews. And they essentially functioned as Igor Kolomoisky's private militia. So like, let's say that there was some business that Kolomoisky wanted to buy. All of a sudden, Azov Battalion has a problem with the business. They, do something over there, and now, Igor gets to move into that sector. And this all started when American neocons, Jewish neocons, Victoria Nuland, chief among them, in 2014 kicked off the Maidan Revolution. We instigated that. The United States instigated that with the help of these Jewish oligarchs, and they started persecuting the white Orthodox Christian Russians, murdering them. There were several, what do you call them, massacres that happened in the eastern Ukraine. And then the Ukrainians voted to become part of Russia. And I feel like that whole little story needs to be
totally lost in the narrative.
Retold,
right.
Because we are at this point where people are just like, yeah, Putin started the war, Putin bad, Ukraine good. That ain't it. And it's important to emphasize the fact that the Ukrainians voted to become part of Russia because there are a lot of people out there, especially Zionists, that they're okay with the war ending and they're okay with Putin keeping the land that they've gained because these Jewish Zionists want to keep Gaza. They want to keep the West Bank.
Of course, it's all interrelated. Isn't it incredible how the media and the State Department were able to get ahead of this so far ahead of time? I mean, think about the groundwork that they laid with Russiagate and all of the the anti-Russian sentiment as early as, when did that even start? 2015?
Yes, 2015, 2016, right after the election.
Oh, man.
And so this, and it really makes you wonder because it's like you see these, and it's heartbreaking. 1.7 million people dead for what? For what? I mean, so that we could get some of our defense technology companies to do some like drone testing so that we could get some like real world combat experience on our drones. Really? Okay. And is it for the territorial integrity of the Ukraine? A country that fucking did not exist until 1991. Right. They didn't exist.
Well, of course, that's not the reason. I mean,
and meanwhile, it's so important that we keep the borders of Ukraine. Meanwhile, there's hundreds of thousands of people flooding our border, coming across the southern border into America illegally.
Not just our countries. I mean, look at Western Europe, and look at the animosity between. We actually have a clip for this. Can you pull up clip 5? I put it in the next section. But it is just incredible the level of animosity that the average Westerner is experiencing from this immigrant population that has to deal with it on a daily basis. This clip shocked me.
Well, hold on. Before we play the clip, it is just incredible to me, because it really makes you wonder what this is all for. And I know that I'm a little monomaniacal about the Jews. I know that it is very difficult once you kind of see certain things to unsee them. Not everything in the world is their fault. Like, let's, be clear.
Okay, but most things.
But a lot. But it's like who does 1.7 million dead white, ostensibly Christian Ukrainians, who does that benefit? That does not benefit Putin. It doesn't benefit the people of Ukraine. Frankly, it doesn't even benefit America. But you know who it does benefit? Israel.
Oh, yeah.
And it benefits Jews in Ukraine that are seeking to reestablish the Pale of the Settlement, which is where all of these people were prior to the 1917 Bolshevik Revolution, which was predominantly Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where that rant came from, but
deep in your heart and
I
soul.
had to do it. I had to do it.
You did step
So
on my transition, though.
I apologize. So here's.
Let's check this out.
Warum hast du keine
Why don't you have any German friends? Because they don't belong to us. I can't stand the Germans too much. You can't stand the Germans? Outside, you hang out with Germans. They do other things than you do. For example, like eating pork, I'm disgusted by them, to be honest. When I see something like that, I feel so disgusted. If the foreigners would all stay in Germany and the Germans would just disappear for a day, it wouldn't even bother us.
All the Germans disappeared, it wouldn't bother me. And before that, she said the Germans disgust her. Can someone explain to me why they're in Germany?
Well, we know the answer to that. Dave just covered it with his 4-minute monologue on the Jews.
Oops.
No, it's okay. But we're about to move into a segment where we talk about Ann Coulter, where it's the most vexing conversation I've ever heard. But it's this thing again of saying it's immigrants. It's not really racial. You can look at this and be like, these people, they're a different ethnicity. It's a different culture. They are never going to integrate. We don't want them to integrate. So let's move into this Ann Coulter segment. I don't know if you guys watch this. I know Cameron sent it to me, but Ann Coulter did this segment on trigonometry, and it was the most painful thing I've watched on the internet since Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson, and it was like pulling teeth. Ann Coulter has gone nowhere ideologically since like 2015, and of course these guys on trigonometry are just what's his name? Constantin.
I haven't seen the clip.
The guy.
I didn't do my show prep today.
It's okay. It's okay. But he's Jewish. He's I think he's a Ukrainian immigrant to the UK. He's
wonderful.
Jewish. And then Ann Coulter just dances around this racial issue. This clip is very long, so we can stop it at any time.
Okay.
But because I suffered through this,
we're going to make you suffer
we're gonna make
with us.
You suffer. But this is
Okay.
clip 6.
Sure. Well, I guess the reason I'm asking, I'm a first generation immigrant to this country, and I've always been hugely in favor of really strong assimilation policies, right? But didn't you have this controversial moment with Vivek, who I think you'd agree is smart and has assimilated, where you said you wouldn't vote for him because he's Indian?
Yeah, for president. I didn't say I wouldn't vote for him. I said he could be, senator. He's running for Senate now.
Why can't he was born in America, right?
Yes.
Why
She's gonna
wouldn't
do
you
the
vote
thing.
for him for president? 'Cause
Okay,
he's
look
Indian.
up all the presidents of India. Have they ever had a non-Indian president? Why, no, they haven't. Has Israel ever had a non-Israeli president? Why is my country the only country that is supposed to have, anybody can run our
Britain
country?
had an Indian.
Wait, hold on a second. Has Israel ever had a non-Israeli president?
Yeah, I know. She says that she
Does she not know that Benjamin Netanyahu is from Philly?
Yeah,
He's like
they talk about
from
that.
Philly, like Menachem Begin. All of these people, they
She
were
goes
not
through
from Israel.
a
They're all
series of disingenuous statements that shirk her responsibility.
Holy
I know.
crap. And I've got a clip for you guys, by the way, talking about the new conscripts to the IDF. But anyway, I'm sorry. Just that was so
Let's get through
bald-faced.
this. This is just
Prime
painful.
Minister.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it went that well. And that was fairly recent.
It was fairly
Yeah.
recent, and it didn't go well, but it wasn't because he was Indian.
Okay,
It's
well,
because his party is useless.
I wouldn't have voted for him because he's Indian. I think, and by the way, we have a natural born citizen clause for that. I mean, there is, as I explained to Vivek in his podcast, that was it really started off with a bang on that one. It was a rash decision at the last minute. All my friends oppose, and I think a lot of people oppose Vivek because they think of him as a scam artist and a con man. And I was thinking, well, I can't say that to him. I wouldn't vote for him because he's Indian. Let's throw that one out.
Wait,
But I
can you
explained
pause
this to
it?
him
So
at the
she
time.
says right there that she didn't want to offend him by talking about his character, right? And so she really only used this, it's because you're Indian thing. just so she could get views. She basically says that this is not a racial thing, that wasn't her intention with this. So everybody that was like based Ann Coulter, I think that she just refuted her entire shenanigan with Vivek. You can keep going.
Reason we have the natural born citizen clause for president, there is an idea, and I think people feel it even more now, because of the massive immigrants from very, very different cultures. America, I mean, like Britain, like most countries, I guess, it has a very distinctive culture. We are the freest country in the world.
Why?
Free speech is in our bones. The right to bear arms is in our bones. And when polls are taken, no matter, how nice they are, immigrants overwhelmingly do not support free speech and gun rights. I mean, those are just two examples.
Doesn't Vivek support free speech and gun rights?
The point is still the same, and that is there is the idea that over generations, it's in your bones, this is in your blood, you would die for this country.
Yeah. So close.
It's just second nature to believe in the right to bear arms. And yeah, immigrants can pick this up. Look, I told them I'd vote for his kids if they married an American.
No!
But he is an American, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, but he's an Indian American. He is a second generation immigrant.
Okay, but what the rule about the natural? So I'm
using that as an analogy. I'm not. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had to say that. I could have just said you're not natural born. Ted Cruz isn't natural born. I wouldn't have to explain. This is an analogy that it matters how deep your connection is to a very distinctive culture.
But you said that's because there's certain things that are embedded in the culture, like being in favor of the First Amendment, being in favor of the Second. But Vivek is in favor of all those things, and you still wouldn't.
Well, it says that. I want it in their bones. I want the wives to believe it. I want it generation after generation after generation. I don't want it to have to be something they need to study and figure out this is what they're supposed to say about it.
But aren't there loads of white Americans who don't believe in either of those amendments?
I'm going to kill myself.
Sure.
But you would...
A lot? No, that's not true. No. Aren't there a lot? No. The answer is no. The people who support...
There's a lot of white Californians who don't believe in either of those amendments.
Yeah, and a majority do. Right. And a majority of no other ethnic group does. And a majority of no other ethnic group does.
Okay.
But surely, wouldn't the position be, Anne, is to take everybody on their own individual merits? Isn't that just the way...
Does everybody get to be president?
If you're born in the country and you're an American citizen, then you should have the chance, shouldn't you? Isn't that the American dream?
Tell Netanyahu. Tell the Israelis. As soon as they put in a president who's not an Israeli, I will say you guys are absolutely right.
But he isn't an American. He is an American. It's not like he's just come over and then assumed the mantles.
There are Muslim Israelis.
Right, and they serve in the Supreme Court and they can be elected president.
They won't be elected president.
Well, they can be.
Well, okay, but I'm not saying there should be a constitutional amendment. I say I won't vote for that person. And you know damn well Israelis are not voting for a Muslim president because they don't want to, just as Anne doesn't want to.
We can wrap this.
Which is, okay,
this is exactly what happened.
Where do we begin? I should have been taking notes.
I know, right? I was watching this and I was just screaming like I was watching some kind of sporting event. I'm like, no, just say the thing. She gets so close. I'm like, just say blood and soil. And this is exactly what happened with that chick from John Birch Society on Jubilee. You see how you get backed into a position, you're on the defensive when you're talking about merits, when you're talking about the bones of a culture. What she needs to say is it is a country of white people, it is white values, and Vivek is not white. And that just goes to show that's not what she meant when she was talking about him, when she was talking to him. And so she's in a losing position, immediately in a losing position. It had everybody, I can see the live chat, it had everybody yelling at their screens. It's like she gets so close to just being like blood and soil, and that's what it's about. That guy is such a subversive Jew.
Okay, and so the other thing that I wanted to talk about is she, and it's because she said it like 2 or 3 times here. She's like, oh, they wouldn't have an Israeli, they wouldn't vote for a non-Israeli prime minister. Okay, what she means by that is a non-Jewish prime minister.
Right, and she doesn't say that.
She's saying the word Israeli instead of Jewish.
Yeah.
Because, by the way, We're over here on Wikipedia. David Ben-Gurion, the very first prime minister of Israel, born in Plonsk, Poland.
Right.
Okay, like let's just go through it. Moshe Shiret. Okay, where were you born?
Russia.
Oh, you were born in Kherson in the Russian Empire. Okay, well that's interesting.
Many
David
such
Ben-Gurion
cases.
again.
Yeah.
Levi Eshkol. You were born in where? France?
We should let Cameron get in here. I'm sure he has a lot to say about this
Anyway,
clip.
Golda Meir, another one. Anyway, just the point is that these people were not Israeli. Israel is a fake state. It didn't exist before 1948.
Right. She knows who butters her bread, though.
Where are my chill pills?
Cameron, I don't even have a question for you. What do you think about that clip?
Well, I mean, look, what you said, Rebecca, is the correct point. I would just say a couple things briefly, because there isn't much to be said about it. The first thing is, and for everybody listening, this is the way you should think about it in your mind. There's this thing, it's called the nation state, all right? And there's two components. There's the nation and there's the state, okay? When people like Vivek or the people you saw in that clip are sort of interrogative, and they're saying, but the law says this, or but this statute says this, that's the state. And the state is superficial. It's a superficial construct that comes from the nation. And the nation is the ethnos, right? The nation is ultimately the connective tissue between the culture, the civilization, the identity that animates the state. This is why, if you consider Chinese history, for example, the Chinese have had multiple dynasties. They have had communist rulers, but they are the longest living ethno-state in the history of the world. Chinese civilization has persisted and reinvented itself century by century. How do they do that? Because the ethnos remains intact. That's the nation. So we are the nation. The state and its various statutes and passports and so forth, that is a superficial construct that can change. And it has been changed. It's been changed and weaponized against the nation. And this is not the first time something like this has happened. Historically, it's happened many, many times. And usually when there is a conflict or a gap between the nation and the state, in other words, the rulership or the legitimate political authority turns against the people, turns against the nation, that's when you tend to get revolutions. That's when you tend to get a violent rebalancing. Guess what? That's exactly what's happening. This is also why I often say on the show, the politics of things as we understand it, voting for a Democrat or a Republican or MAGA or whatever, that is irrelevant. That's the game that Ann Coulter is trying to play in. That's the sandbox that has entrapped her. That's why she doesn't want to say white. But, and this is, I think, is the most important point, she was almost forced to say it. She was almost led down that path because the state itself has gotten so out of control that they're trying to entrap us. They're trying to force this sort of binary in which we identify with the nation. But instead of destroying us, that's actually going to empower us. And if she had said, look, I'm a white American, the white population, the white ethnos is what birthed everything, and ultimately it's what the state emanates from, that then changes the dynamic of the conversation. But Ann Coulter, by virtue of being a Politico for so long, she doesn't recognize that frame of reference, that sandbox, it just doesn't matter anymore. We're into a new politics, and the population, the nation, is waking up.
There we go.
Because I had you muted because I was blowing my nose. I
gross.
apologize.
And I think that her lack of evolution is juxtaposed with the Sargon of Akkad clip that we're about to play. I think that this is really what is causing these intergenerational problems, because she has become irrelevant, but she has made herself irrelevant by exactly what she was doing there, by not addressing racial issues, by jumping around it, by getting defensive. Now, Sargon, who used to be more in the Ann Coulter culture camp
type thing.
Yes, he has a really interesting development. He's really developed his worldview in a positive way. Now, I know he can't say that everything that we want him to say, but the UK laws on speech he could get arrested at any time just for pushing it. And I think he's taken it to his maximum ability for what he can say. And he talks in this clip really quickly. Let's just play 7 and 8 after one another, and then we can discuss. But he's going to discuss this convergence and how Gen Z and to a lesser extent millennials are really making this a racial issue.
So let's begin then, because man, I can feel the change in the air. I can feel the wind blowing. Now, in Britain, famously, Britain is the country that engages in generally the slowest change. Political change in Britain is glacial, and usually trends that have occurred elsewhere in the world happen like a generation after in Britain. So don't expect anything to happen soon. But the thing is, once the great ship of state that is the British government and the British country starts going in a direction, well, it's difficult to get it to not go in that direction. And you can already see the shoots of spring are already springing up. You can already see the direction in which we're traveling. And man, that's some good news. That is, like I said, it's going to take a long time, but it's good to see.
Let's play 8.
And I'm very pleased to see that the youth...
All right, hold on. Let me get clip 8 up.
But he's talking about race, and not in a way that Ann Coulter is.
So it genuinely is interesting that the British people themselves finally appear to be gaining what I guess you could say amounts to a critical consciousness. And it's nice to see the vanguard of young people who are like, yeah, no, this is fixable and we're going to fix it. In fact, we know how we're going to fix it. There are going to be a lot of boomer libs screeching over this. There are going to be a lot of Blairites who are going to tear out their hair, who are going to run around screaming racist, sexist, xenophobe, blah, 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 Islamophobe, all of the words that they were taught by leftists. They're going to be screaming those forever, but I can't help but feel that the young people are not going to let that stand in the way.
They don't care.
I think they're like, yeah, okay, Grandpa, I'm not interested. What I want is for my children to go to school safely. You might not have been bothered about it, but I'm bothered about it, and that's what we're going to get.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell he's talking about race. I know he doesn't talk about the JQ. I think his hands might be tied in the UK.
You know what this is reminding me of? This is reminding me of this clip. Have you ever seen this clip, Rebecca?
I don't think so.
Yeah, let's...
Is this Zoomer Historian?
I believe he did tweet this out.
His account is so fantastic.
I'm going to try to bleep it out.
Why bother?
Well, because
we're trying to get monetized.
This was England in like the 1970s, and it's just amazing because I feel like here we are again, old friend.
Yeah.
Like we're right back to it.
Yes, I am a racist, and why? Who's made me a racist? This government, the Conservatives, and every sturdy, stinking cancer who sticks up to their and I'll stand by my words, because I don't like these people, never will do.
We're seeing a resurgence of this in younger generations. He's right, because they aren't going to kowtow to these slurs anymore because of what we're about to talk about. They really have not much to be hopeful for, especially economically. I'm sure everybody has seen this Gavin Newsom, J.D. Vance meme going around. And I think that they're joking because Gavin Newsom is a real piece of shit. But the optics of this, I think, are important. The Gen Z and Gen Alpha, this is racial to them.
Why is this taking me to Threads?
I don't know. The meme will pop up. If
it
won't. I don't know. Can you find it somewhere else? There we go.
There it is. Okay.
Which Way America? There's Gavin Newsom with his beautiful white family, and then fat J.D. Vance with his Jeet wife and his Jeet kids. And the juxtaposition here is hilarious. And I love this meme from Gen Z, not because we like Gavin Newsom, he's got the face of Satan and everything like that, but because they're expressly saying this is racial, that genetics matter, ethnicity matters, and it doesn't matter if you call us racist anymore.
I tweeted this out.
I thought this was a masterful move by the Groypers.
Yeah.
No. It was really, really funny.
And people are getting so pissed off. Yeah, I was going to say, like, I tweeted this out when Charlie Kirk, he said, "What is an American?" And I'm like, you tell me, Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's very, very obvious. And the BAP people are pissed.
Well,
they are not having a fun time
you know
with
why.
this meme. Absolutely. Please vote for the Republican.
But the issue is, right, what is it? Is it Sargon? Is that what he goes by?
Carl Benjamin, yeah.
Carl Benjamin, yeah.
Carl Benjamin, yeah. What he said is absolutely correct, right? And that is that the consciousness, right? And you hear me use this term a lot, consciousness. It's one thing to look at yourself in the mirror and say, well, I need to comb my hair, I need to wash my face or whatever. It's another thing to say that I am conscious of who I am, of what my identity is, and what direction on that basis I must go. That consciousness has been completely vacant in our politics for a long time. If it was there, it was faint. It was discreet, right? In a way similar to what Ann Coulter tried to express when she was being interrogated. She was trying to be subtle and discreet. Well, we see how far that's gotten us. It's gotten us nowhere. And the younger generations understand that. More to the point, they're being forced to defend themselves because of the demographic changes that have happened over the last 50 years. So now the only politics that matters are identity politics. And that identity is causing, I think, younger generations of men in particular to wake up. Now, once you've awakened, there isn't much that can be done to you, which is why the state has to censor you, or it has to imprison you, or it has to otherwise harass you. Because when you stand in front of somebody like Vivek and you say, look, the difference between you and me is what we see in the mirror, you've won the discussion. End of discussion, end of debate. It's over. And that's where we're headed.
Yep.
The irony of all of this, I should say, is that this is not necessarily the direction that the white population in the United States or the Europeans collectively want to go. Even now, there is some degree of reluctance. But as I've said before, it's being forced upon us. And now the younger generations are beginning to embrace that consciousness. That's a game changer. And it's not going to take decades and decades, as he hinted. That's not what's going to happen, because a collision is already happening on the streets. It's happening online. And it's only a matter of time before that starts to bleed into the mainstream. In fact, I think you could argue that it's already happening.
Yep, absolutely. And I wanted to examine this intergenerational strife a little bit more, because I don't think that there has ever been such hatred between two generations as much as millennials and boomers. I have to preface this because I know my mom is watching. My parents are different kinds of boomers.
Mine too.
Yep, they help at every opportunity. They help financially. They help with the kids. They're really involved. They are A boomers.
Naxal. Not all boomers.
Not all boomers.
This,
right.
But
this is a massive trend, and people talk about it all the time. Let's pull up this PubMed. So this is a study from Personality and Social Psychology, which examined tensions between millennials and boomers, and found that both groups express significantly more animosity toward each other than toward other generations like Gen X or Gen Z. And the animosity is asymmetric. Baby boomers perceive millennials as a symbolic threat, challenging traditional values, while millennials view boomers as a realistic threat by hoarding resources like jobs and housing. So if you pull up this next link, there is a graph that's somewhat astounding right there. Yeah. Okay, so can you zoom in a little bit on that?
I'll try.
So this is,
Come on, come back.
This is a graph of, it's that first one.
It's the first one.
This is a graph of intergenerational attitudes about one another. So on the x-axis, we have attitudes. On the y-axis, we have millennial and baby boomer participants. So you can see that boomers and millennials have the worst attitudes about one another compared to other generations. And that in that next graph next to it, they also view each other as more threatening than any other generation. There it is. If you can't go all the way, that's okay. You can see.
I know. So, hold on. Can you explain that again? I was busy.
Okay, so on the left, you can see that the attitudes between boomers and millennials are lower. There's a lower perceived attitude than any other generational combination. And then on the right, there's a higher perceived threat.
Interesting.
So this really is unlike anything we've seen in recent history. So I wanted to talk a little bit about why they hate each other, why we hate each other. Can we play clip 9?
Yes, we can.
Thank you, Dave.
I have never seen the war that I am seeing between the boomer generation and the millennial generation. Never before seen this. It is unbelievable.
Really?
The amount of hatred between these two generations is unbelievable. It's really bad.
So what's the core thing they're fighting about?
Betrayal. The boomer generation really is a generation that believed that the template for success was a very specific thing. They themselves made all kinds of decisions that changed the entire framework and the landscape of this world and the society in a way that would not work anymore for what they did essentially when they were 20. So they sold an idea to the millennials. The millennials followed that ideal. Because of doing so, they fell off a cliff, basically, bounced themselves straight towards two huge recessions, didn't work in relationships. So all of a sudden, they're like, wait a minute, I trusted you and you misled me. And now I can never get what you got. There's no hope for the future. And now you won't step out of the position that you're in, where I'm convinced you're making decisions that harmed me.
Yeah, exactly. And so there are many theories about why the boomer generation was so spoiled. This is pretty concise. I thought that this covers most of the important points. We'll talk about a few after.
There were careers available for everyone. The easy life was available to anyone who qualified, and qualifying was quite simple. You simply went to college, in many cases for free. I went to college for free. There was an openness about childhood and about child rearing that was filled by a new idea. Dr. Spock's ideas about being permissive with your kids. You know, don't freak out if they rebel, if they talk back, if you catch them masturbating or something of that sort. Don't get hung up on it. This was a distinctly new way to be raised in the world. It allowed for a whole generation that I suppose we would now call spoiled.
Right. I mean, he doesn't touch on the nihilism that boomers experience. And I do have some sympathy for boomers because it's possible that they were the most propagandized generation. But they never really, as a whole, came to their senses. And they certainly don't care about improving the quality of life for people, for younger generations, which is just, I don't understand this perspective because it is the whole point in life. It has been the whole point in life for every generation preceding baby boomers to make the lives of their children better. And they're failing to do this. Let's play clip 11. This is boomers on younger generations' work ethics. I think they're talking about Gen Z, though.
You know, if you're seeing at Dollar Tree on your timeline, that's because they're under fire after a manager in Indiana posted, "Help wanted," but only for boomers and not Gen Z because, quote, "don't know what work actually means." And then I apologize for us closing again. My 2 new cashiers quit because I said their boyfriends couldn't stand here for their entire shift. Don't hire Gen Z. They don't know what work actually means. Now hiring baby boomers only. Thanks.
That's good.
Wow.
So.
And this is what is really pissing off younger generations because it's this lack of empathy. There really is no way to pull yourself up by your bootstraps with the economic situation that millennials and Gen Z have been handed. It's almost impossible. Every person that I know has some kind of hustle, multiple hustles. We all have multiple hustles.
Yeah.
And it's just the way that it has to be. And you have to adapt to this work environment that they have given us because they were a spoiled generation. Let's go to clip 12. So this is some of the financial woes in general that Gen Z is experiencing. And it's obvious that they can't just work harder. There really is no evidence that Gen Z isn't working hard or as hard as previous generations. They're certainly working harder than boomers were.
Yeah, that's true.
I have a business marketing degree, but ended up with 2 retail jobs, one that pays $10 an hour and the other with fewer shifts at $25 an hour. I'm not making enough to get by.
I'm not going to have experiences that most young adults do or did in the past because everything is just too expensive. There's so much unknown.
I sometimes struggle to afford food, despite working full-time and living with a roommate. Making ends meet means pulling money from savings, skipping a meal, or drinking water so that I can try and stay full.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about why specifically we are all so poor.
What is really screwed up is the world is massively in debt. The workforce is shrinking. Population growth is slowing down. It's slowing down GDP growth, so there's not enough GDP growth to pay or service the amount of debts out there. And what we found since 2008, that the answer to this debt issue has been printing of more money, debasement of currency. People think of it in terms of, at first they think it's going to be inflation, as in the price of CPI goes up, but it's actually not. It's actually something much worse, is wages don't rise, but assets go up, because optically you're debasing the currency. But what's happening is you can't afford as much of that now. And so your future self is in fact poorer. So a classic example is a 35-year-old now in the United States, getting married, having kids. A house is very expensive now. Compared to when Peter and I were young, it was relatively cheap, 3 times incomes. Now it's like 10 times incomes. So there's no real way of getting up the ladder. So the advantages that your parents had are not available to you.
Right. I mean, Peter Schiff does a really good job here of explaining why we can't afford housing. And I think that that really is one of the biggest issues for younger generations. They just want to own like a piece of shit house.
Further. So if you really want to put today's unemployment in context, what you have to compare is the current U6 number to the U3 number that existed prior to 1994. And I happened to do that. And what I found, if you look at the 1950s and 1960s, there wasn't a single year during those 2 decades where unemployment was as high as it is right now. You got to go to the 1970s. That was 1975. Oh, and 1976. So only 2 years. And that's supposed to be a horrible decade, stagflation, Jimmy Carter, all the bad stuff that happened. There were only 3 years during the 1980s when unemployment was higher than it is right now. We were in the worst recession since the Great Depression. The Fed had interest rates up at 20%, right? We were really trying to fight inflation. So only during the latter 1970s and early 1980s did you have unemployment higher than it is right now.
So, how is Gen Z doing today overall?
Yeah, that's good.
All right.
And what has this done? This has, I think the worst outcome of this is that it has absolutely destroyed morale in younger generations. There's this video of this kid just ranting in his car, and it has gotten incredible play. He's not saying anything that is just going to change the world, but he's just lamenting the life that he's lost. And it got huge play, I think, because it's just so relatable. Let's just watch a little bit of this.
Before I feel like I'm going to lose my fucking mind. I guess I'm trying to get away from all this shit, but you can't. It's impossible. You have to be around people. Yet people fucking suck. People don't care about you. If you're a little weird or you're a little awkward, people fucking hate you. They don't want to be around you. And they don't care about any of your issues or how you feel whatsoever. That's the truth. I'm just tired of like feeling this way, you know? Like I'm stuck. I'm trapped. I'm bored. There's nothing to do. Everything about life has to do with other people, and I don't want to be around other people anymore, because all it is disappointment every time. It's like they want you to be a certain way, but I can't be that way. I feel like I'm not supposed to be a part of this society. I don't fit in it. It's like really fucking irritating, man. I want to just drive away. Like, I'm here in the back of the parking lot, and I just want to be by myself. This is like the most peaceful for me.
That kid sounds like he's on the verge of suicide.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is not good.
No.
And, you know, this whole thing is reminding me of a story that I thought was in the outline, but wasn't. And I didn't put it in because I didn't read it. But it's reminding me of, let me see if I can find it. I had it up here. This right here. Earlier this week.
Oh, yes. I should have put this in the outline.
Earlier this week, a young kid, maybe somewhere between a 16-year-old deli worker.
He's disabled.
He's disabled at Meijer. Meijer is one of these food stores like, you know, Kroger or Super One or whatever. I don't know. I guess this is more of a Midwest thing. But so he's working at Meijer, and he was eating thrown away food. This was food that had either expired or had, aged out. You know, they have those little hot bars at the deli, and you know they'll have like chicken strips or French fries. Well, those are only good in there for like a couple of hours, and then they're supposed to cycle them out and throw them away and replace them with new food. Well, this young 16-year-old kid who we're going to play this video of was arrested because the employers at Meijer accused him of basically having
Theft,
stolen.
corporate theft.
Yeah, corporate theft. Thank you. $110. So this is the police body cam footage. They called him into the office to have a meeting with him, and then the police pop in, and this is what happens.
Hello. Hey. So we have James here. Who's James? Right here. Right here. Okay. He is he works in our deli department. Okay. And we found out that he's just been taking like orders of chicken and fruit cups and stuff like that off the floor for 110. Yep. All right.
$110 over 3 months.
James, do you have anything on you need to be aware of?
Not
Don't
like
reach for it if you do. Don't reach for it if you do.
Okay, so I have a Sharpie and a box cutter in this pocket. All I have in this pocket is my phone and my earbuds, and then in my back pocket I have my wallet.
Go ahead and stand up for me.
Okay.
All right, just go ahead and put your hand in the wall for me. Let me
Oh
just
my
take everything out. We'll
gosh.
get it with it.
Look at these people. Look at her face.
All this stuff yours? Like the box cutter, that's not my property or anything?
That should be my
They're wondering if the box cutter is Meyer property.
Yeah. Right.
Holy.
Anything in your shoes or anything like that? Nope. Go ahead and put your hands behind your back. Okay. You can put your palms together and drop that. Put your palms together. Palms together. Palms together.
Unreal.
So that's it. So
Absolutely unreal.
So in this country, in the United States of America, if you eat some food that's going to be thrown away or expired or whatever, $110 over 3 months, you're going to get put up against a wall and arrested. But if you are, I don't know, some fucking Israeli cyber chief that's like going on apps and luring little children to go and commit sexual acts in Las Vegas, you're going to be taken out of the country, flown to Israel, probably at taxpayer expense, and given a complete free fucking ride.
Yeah, it's incredible.
This is the country that we live in now. I'm sorry, this gets me, I mean, it's, I was like, you know, I played it pretty cool at the beginning, but this is so beyond the pale. I mean,
and then people act like Gen Z, like they just need to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. This kid probably has to work 2 jobs to have the shittiest quality of life.
Parents are probably charging this kid rent.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you got to learn a life ethic. You've got to learn work. You got to learn how to work and manage your money. So we're gonna charge you now. My parents did charge me rent when I lived with them, and that was very good for me. I did learn proper money management skills from that. But at the same time, fuck these boomers.
No, I mean, luckily this is really blowing back on Meyer. So I'm happy to see that social media.
Boycott Meyer.
Boycott Meyer,
Don't
absolutely.
shop there.
Don't shop there, yeah. Let's look at a few statistics, though, between the boomers and millennials. So median home prices were 3 times annual salary for boomers in the 70s, and they're 8 times salary now. The average millennial has $30,000 in student debt. There's gig economy instability. Nobody is getting housing. Nobody's going to get housing. Also, boomers are responsible for offshoring jobs to China, importing low-wage immigrants via H-1B visas, refusing to retire. And there's this common sentiment: the boomers stumbled into S&P gains and real estate equity, but left millennials with crippling debt. And I think that is a fair assessment.
Look at this. This is a chart. The home value to income ratio from 1970 to 2023. And it's only gone higher since this chart was made, by the way. Out of control.
Yeah.
Out of control.
Yep. Boomers have 50% of the wealth despite being 20% of the population. They're refusing to downsize, to pass on their assets, and they're treating their homes as investments or exit liquidity, and this includes outbidding their own grandchildren on housing and supporting policies that inflate assets for their benefits. So the sentiments that boomers have no loyalty to subsequent generations, I think, are absolutely justified, and I can see why. We hate boomers so much.
Oh yeah,
but I can't really see why they would hate millennials. I can't see why they would hate Gen Z. I think that a lot of it is that they don't understand us. And then they grew up in a secular lifestyle. So with their old, crippled hands, they're just hanging on to those little elements of hedonism that remind them of the 60s or whatever.
Oh, man. Yeah. There's also this. Go ahead, Cameron.
Go ahead, Dave. Finish your thought.
No. I was gonna derail.
No,
go ahead.
Go first.
Okay, I'm gonna go first. I was just gonna say, this video is rage bait. I get that. I know that. But like, this came on my feed the other day, and it sent me through the roof.
This is an AI, is it?
No,
Okay,
this is
good.
not AI. But this is what allegedly. I grew up middle class, right? My dad made 6 figures in the radio industry. We always had, we didn't want for anything, but like, we weren't like fucking rich,
Yeah.
And by the end of this whole thing, after the 2001 and 2008, we were on the lower end of middle class for sure.
Mhm.
And it showed in a way that in the 90s, middle class was different. But this is a video that popped up on my feed about what it's like to live as a middle class American in Miami. I know it's rage bait, but
Here's how much we spend as a middle-class couple living in Miami. Our rent is $13,000 a month, which gives us a pretty decent view. My favorite part about our place is definitely our offices, which I think cost about $30,000 to build. I'm not too sure just because my boyfriend hired the designer and paid for it. Our car notes are a combined total of $14,000, which also is not too bad. We definitely cheaped out with these just because we wanted cars that were both convenient and affordable. For groceries, we spend about $2,000 a month. We don't actually get real groceries. We order off of a meal prep service just because we also found that to be more affordable as well. We go on at least 2 date nights every single week, just as any other reasonable couple would, and we usually spend around $10,000 a month when we are being super cautious of our spending. And then lastly, because we both work remote, we also like to go on one trip every single month, which usually runs us around $30,000 just because it's super important to us to be able to touch new grass. So in total, we spend about $70,000 a month on our necessities as a middle-class couple living in Miami. Let me know.
Good Lord.
Middle
Can you
class.
imagine? Can you imagine if you had $70,000 a month?
I don't know what I would do with $7,000 a month, Rebecca.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we live pretty frugally.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. Sorry.
Cameron.
Go
ahead.
I cut you off
let's
for
think
this.
about this. Let's think about this a little differently, because much of what has been said before, and it's true, and certainly there is friction between the generations. But I have a very different take on it. I wrote this, I think, in 2023. I don't know if you can find it, Dave. It's called Global Reset and Neomasculinity. I think it was the 4th Men in the City that I wrote.
If you guys would like.
Anyway,
Global
if you go to
Reset.
Substack, maybe you can find it. Anyway, I wrote this 2 years ago, but this is sort of the genesis of a lot of my work and a lot of my thinking. I'm just going to read a paragraph and then I'll build from there. Men in the city are awakening to a traumatized world. The financial economic order led by a corrupt elite is spiraling out of control. Legacy structures from banks to universities are in steep decline. Intergender relationships are breaking down. The 9-to-5 paradigm is unstable, and old value systems are fading. Fear of impending social quakes is spreading through the corridors of power as generations of frustrated, voiceless, and disillusioned young men are beginning to mutiny against a corrosive system grinding them down to dust. Amidst such upheaval, however, a neo-masculinity is rising from the ashes of society, teetering on the edge of chaos. I want to take everybody back to 1999. I think 1999 was a major turning point that a lot of people really don't talk about. In 1999, we had an incredible film year, an incredible set of iconic movies that were released. Specifically, Fight Club came out in 1999. So did The Matrix, Eyes Wide Shut, The Ninth Gate, and then the year before, in 1998, a film called Dark City. If you haven't seen Dark City, I strongly recommend you take a look at it. But let's talk about the films in 1999. 99, you had The Matrix, which was viral. I mean, it was a titanic film at the time. I don't know if you guys remember going to see it.
Oh, yeah.
It had a big impact on me. It certainly was very topical with a lot of my friends. And even now, I think the film has become more influential, more impactful with time. A lot of the lexicon, a lot of the terminologies that we use today, like the Matrix, red pill, blue pill, black pill, that sort of thing, all of that emanated from that film, which essentially was about an awakening, right? An awakening to a false reality. At the same time, you had Fight Club. And Fight Club was a flop at the box office, but it really started to gain momentum. And I think I was a sophomore in high school at the time. Fight Club was mesmerizing to all of us at the time, and we didn't understand it per se. We just knew that it resonated in a very visceral, masculine sense. And in a very short and brief way, it was about rebellion. It was about rebelling, specifically as men, rebelling against a system of modernity, right? Rebelling against consumerism and what later would become feminism or wokeism or whatever. Basically, against a phony baloney system that was feminizing you, that was emasculating who you were. What also happened in 1999 was Columbine. Columbine, which happened in Colorado. I was actually going to high school in Colorado Springs, just a few hours from Columbine. Columbine, for those of you who do not know, was the first major school shooting of its kind that got real national attention. And it was a shock to the system when it happened. I mean, we had, I don't know if you guys remember it, but we had a school assembly. The entire faculty came out and they were stricken with grief. I mean, they were completely shell-shocked by this incident that had occurred. And we were all pretty young. Like I said, I was a sophomore in high school at the time. And I didn't really understand exactly what was happening. I just knew that two kids had sort of spun out of control, and there was a massive shooting rampage. I didn't understand a bit more, much more than that. Come to find out, of course, that some of what these students acted out seemed to be inspired by the Matrix. They wore these black trench coats, and they had carefully planned out this horrific act, and then, of course, they killed themselves. That was an earthquake that I think in many ways was a signal, just as Fight Club and The Matrix and these films about the occult, like The Ninth Gate and Eyes Wide Shut, were communicating that something was wrong. Even though the 90s, for those of us that grew up in that decade, the 90s was a time of bliss in many ways. You know, you had a good music scene. Everybody seemed to be relatively wealthy or upwardly mobile. It was in many ways a time of naivete, right? It was an idealistic time to grow up. I remember at the time people were very positive about the future. You know, they thought that we were all going to be millionaires, that we were all going to have nice homes in the suburbs, et cetera, et cetera. Shortly thereafter, we had 9/11, and 9/11. Like Columbine, was another shock to the system. Of course, this was much bigger. It was staggering. It was like something that you couldn't believe would happen. And I remember when it occurred, I was I think a senior in high school then. And the teacher, I remember the class I was in, I think it was philosophy, brought the TV in, and we watched this event unfold on television. It was quite astounding. That was then a sort of another pylon that collapsed in the reality, the sort of artificial construct that we lived in the 90s. Then came 2008, the global financial crisis. And the global financial crisis knocked all of us that were coming of age, you know, specifically millennials. It knocked us off track. We were the first to get laid off. Some of us were just graduating from college. That was sort of my story. I was in the military briefly, then I left, and I couldn't find work. I went unemployed for a long time and had to move back home with my parents. I mean, it was an awful time. And I was in sort of the jobless abattoir for years, okay, before I could climb out, which is hardly a unique story. Then comes, you know, the war on terror and all the rest of it that was sort of interspliced in between these events. Then, of course, we got 2020, the pandemic. I'm skipping around a bit, but the pandemic, much as 9/11 and the global financial crisis and the global war on terrorism, the pandemic was a shock for Gen Z, right? Many of them were about to graduate high school and they were going to go to university, or some of them were, you know, entering the workforce, and they were stuck at home because we had these lockdowns. I say all of that as sort of background because it certainly dislodged the social economy of the country. There's no question about that. But all of these things together communicated that this thing called the United States, or maybe Western civilization, or maybe this post-World War paradigm that we were living in, that it was bullshit, that we were fed a load of garbage, that it didn't apply to our lives. And whatever our parents told us, maybe they told us how to date, right? They said, well, you just need to go out and find a nice girl, and you just need to go out and get a decent job, and you just need to go find a decent suburban neighborhood and live the life that I had. And of course, that fell on deaf ears because the world had completely changed. We lived in a world of mass shootings. We lived in a world of global war and terrorism. We lived in a world of pandemics. We lived in a world online. All of these things were massive psychological shocks to our psyches that damaged and distorted and upset our equilibrium in many ways. But in all of that distress and that discomfort and that isolation that our generations, I think millennials and Gen Z, men in particular, have felt, there has been an awakening. There were all of a sudden these online communities that formed. You guys were a part of it, in which we were talking about this dark underbelly of who was really in control of our society, of who really controlled the economy, of why we were fighting all these foreign wars. Topics that our parents never understood. In some cases, they still don't understand. They're mentally blocked. They can't see the truth. But we can, because all of those illusions, they snapped, they popped. And for some of us, it happened online because we were unemployed, we were isolated, we didn't know what else to do. So we were searching for things online. We were trying to figure out what was happening. For others, it was because we went to some university and we were lectured to about DEI and why being a white male was bad, and these things called these ideas like transgenderism or feminism, ideas we didn't particularly understand, all of which were hostile and targeted us as the enemy. Either way, we all were sort of forced into this online world where we began to figure things out. We began to ask questions. We began to revisit a lot of our history and understand exactly who we are. And this has created a psychological permutation. It's actually strengthened our Constitution, and it has caused a paradigm shift in our values. We don't want the lives that our parents had anymore. We don't care about the material things in the 401ks in ways that they did. We want community. They had community to some degree, but not to the degree that we do now, right? Because we've had to dig deep. We've had to find people that see through the bullshit just like we do. We've had to find people online, maybe in our local cafes, whatever, that were outside of the networks that we inherited, because we had to find like-minded people that were swept up in this system of lies. I say all of this to conclude that ultimately what is happening at the street level, what was happening online and is only getting stronger, what's beginning to happen politically, culturally, et cetera, is a permutation in our society that's going to reset the whole system. But it's not going to be a reset from above. It's not going to look like the 60s. It's not going to be communism 2.0. It's going to be a reset in a kind of Western Renaissance sense. That's where we're headed, because we've been forced, whether through online media, whether through our direct experience economically, whether through online dating or in-person relationships that were torn asunder, it doesn't matter. All of us have been brought to this point. And that is what's going to create this meta-political mass mobilization that I talk about. That's what our platform is all about. So in a sense, this pain, this sort of dark night of the soul, it's created an awakening. It's created this movement that we're all part of, and that's ultimately going to save our society. All of those things are oblivious, unfortunately, to the baby boomers. But I still think that some of them are coming along. Not all of them, to be sure, but some of them are coming along. It's just harder because they're tied to a broken paradigm that no longer applies. It's no longer relevant.
Yeah, they have been left behind.
And, you know, what Cameron is saying, this kind of, like, I really think in the next 4 years or so, we're going to start seeing this kind of online thing that we've been a part of is I think, poised to make some real strikes. Actually, there's this new poll that came out just yesterday from Lester Tellez. I forget what the name of his company is, but he runs a political polling firm. And they found that 6% of Americans currently like and approve of Nick Fuentes. And, you know, that might sound like a small number to you or to the listener that, oh, it's only 6%. Oh, that's just so tiny. And 6% of 300 million people is 18 million people. 1% of 18 million people, that's 180,000 groypers, right? And imagine if Fuentes puts out a call to get groypers to go door knocking in New Hampshire, in Vermont, in Iowa, to fuck over J.D. Vance. 18 million people can swing an election.
Oh, yeah.
And we are now at a point where, you know, people like Nick are aware of their power and able to wield it. And this is happening really kind of for the first time since this whole thing got started, you know, a little over 10 years ago or whatever it may be. So I think it's going to get really interesting. I mean, it's also, you know, I think I saw something from Representative Heather Scott. You know, we have to keep pushing for state sovereignty. History has shown that once systems get too complex, they collapse. We need to be prepared for a chaotic future. I agree. Yep. And I think that lines up with what Cameron has been saying. Things are going to get a lot more chaotic. We're, you know, going to see some serious change happen. But, you know, there is maybe some hope.
What you're beginning, what we're experiencing is a transition, right? And again, a lot of what's happening online is a mirror into what's happening in the psyches of people that are not necessarily engaged with our content, but they're still thinking it on the street. And so there is this handoff that's happening between the online media and that sort of social energy and in real life activity. This is why you're seeing remigration summits in Europe. It's why you're starting to see the protest movement gain traction in countries like England and Spain and the Netherlands. It's also why you're seeing return to the land, right? All of these things are beginning to gain traction and momentum. They're beginning to mainstream, and that's going to change everything. The only thing I would stress to all of you that are listening, try not to think about politics. Try not to think about the way things have been done, because all of that is about to change. We didn't have platforms like Twitter 50 years ago during the 60s counterculture revolution, okay? We have new tools, we have new platforms, we have a new approach. And that means that political movements, they're gonna look a little bit different, and they're gonna be led by new kinds of people. And my guess is that you're gonna see a restructuring, a reordering, not just of the economy, but of the entire way we govern ourselves, the entire way we govern our countries. But all of that is to say that what's driving all of this is this renaissance, this rebirth, this reawakening that's happening in guys like that guy sitting in the car, you know, who's pissed off and beginning to ask questions about why the system is so screwed up. That's the genesis. That's the starting point. And that ultimately kicks into a broader mass awakening that we're all a part of.
How am I supposed to follow up a masterful off-the-cuff monologue with a subpar scripted monologue? I wish you guys weren't on your game constantly. It makes me feel intellectually inferior. I have
you're a woman.
I have imposter syndrome.
It's okay. Did you see this tweet? Speaking of women, did you see this tweet that I put out the other day?
Speaking of women?
Speaking of women,
did you see this post that I put out? This went fucking crazy.
She is the worst.
Nancy Mace comes out. 105 years ago today, the 19th Amendment to our Constitution was signed into law, giving women the right to vote. We promise to continue to fight for our daughters every single day. Hold the line. And I'm like, 105 years ago, Americans made a mistake, Nance.
Oh, I bet she hated that.
And it got 13,000 likes, like 250,000 views. And then some idiot was like trying to be all like, no, hey, David, you should tell your wife that you don't think that she shouldn't be allowed to have political agency anymore. And I'm like, my wife tells me to my face that she wishes she didn't have to vote.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I don't vote. Yeah.
That is to say that it's okay, Rebecca.
Thank you. Women shouldn't vote. Under no circumstances.
Every woman that I know and I'm like friends with doesn't want women to vote.
Yeah, I absolutely don't. And honestly, my role in this show is to give a platform for more important voices. Everyone's like, women shouldn't have a voice in politics. I'm like, I really don't. I just am creating a platform for others that do.
It's like when you put it's like when you put medicine in sugar coating.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you put medicine in something sweet, you know?
Yeah.
So Rebecca is on the thumbnails and then Cameron just, laying it down. Phrasing.
We got to operate as a team, folks. Right?
With that,
get your last minute super chats into the backlash.net or over on our YouTube channel. You can send us super chats. We are getting closer and closer to our goals every show, you guys. So now I'm going to do a monologue about a movie that nobody has seen, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. I don't know. I hope some people have seen this. This is Rebecca.
I've seen
Rebecca
Tootsie.
Rance.
I've seen it.
No, although I do love Tootsie. It's Jewish propaganda, but I can't help it.
Every girl loves Tootsie.
I know.
The movie. Yeah.
In Ozu's film, Tokyo Story, which I hope some of you have seen. If you haven't, please watch it. It has stuck with me through years and years. I think about it all the time. An elderly couple journey from their rural hometown to visit their adult children. So they're excited to reunite with their son, who's a doctor, and their daughter, who's a hairdresser. And they soon discover that their offspring are too busy. They have little time for them, and they're living these urban lives that the parents don't really understand. The children are rude and uncaring, and largely they view their parents as a burden. So upon returning home, the mother falls ill and dies, which prompts the family to gather for her funeral. The children attend briefly and then return to their own lives in Tokyo. They are self-centered and emotionally detached. This film is not just about the loneliness of aging and enduring generational divides, but the erosion of traditional family bonds. It's about what happens when there is a focus on a child's perceived success rather than building strong bonds between families based on cultural values, and how much is lost when there is this failure. So I thought about this film frequently since watching it years ago. The viewer feels for the parents, but when you think about it more and more, it's the disappointment that they feel for their children is really a product of their own regret. Their regret for not passing true Japanese values to their children, like intergenerational loyalty or being part of a whole. And as such, their children are engulfed by urban life and modern commodities and the illusion of status. And they too will fail their own children. So this reminds me of the millennial boomer divide that we just discussed. What happens when a generation desperate to rebel against the status quo abandons the ties that bind? Losing traditions is painful for subsequent generations, and absent a shared cultural narrative, an identity crisis emerges, and of course we've seen this. Rather than being part of a whole, superficial individualism and pursuit of materialism become the center of a generation's identity. How many millennials do we see that are covered in meaningless tattoos or are engaging in some form of gender or sexual dysphoria? How many are just desperate to be part of something larger? Social cohesion is completely dismantled when traditions are lost. Myriad mental health issues and addictions like the fentanyl crisis run rampant as a lack of identity is manifested or managed pathologically. Moral and ethical frameworks are disregarded, leaving ethical voids to be filled by propaganda and avarice, and younger generations become supremely vulnerable to external threats. The task at hand, the whole point of our movement, the whole point of our show, is to replace the nihilism of boomers with a new framework for morality. Of course, Christianity will be essential in this, but it's not going to appeal to everyone, as we're always talking about the pagan Christian issue in the white nationalist community. And in a functional Christian society that is racially homogenous, even the agnostic and atheistic will still adhere to the broader sense of ethics because they're reinforced socially. Oral tradition has been used for centuries to inform the young of a culture's values and to warn of the failures when those values are ignored. Art and historical architecture have served similar purposes. So our task as a movement, and I want everybody to really think about this and comment about it in the comment section below, we need to resurrect some semblance of this oral tradition using modern technology and community building to transmit the importance of shared morality, and most importantly, the dire consequences of abandoning this sense of morality, which we're seeing play out in real time. So without this, we're destined to make the same mistakes as boomers. So please comment in the comment section. What do you think we can do? This is always an open dialogue because I don't know the answers. I am just a woman. But what could we do that helps build community, that helps give the younger generation that is having a massive crisis of identity and their morale is absolutely decayed? What can we do to kind of resurrect something like the oral tradition, to keep everybody on the straight and narrow, to keep everybody on the path, and to keep us together as an ethnos? Thank you so much.
Yeah. Where's it? Hey, I hit the right button this time.
It's not crickets.
It's not crickets. Sorry about that from last week. But yeah, this reminds me of this statistic, which I've seen going around this week. The estimated adult conversions to Catholicism in the United States.
Check that out.
Have hockey stick.
Yeah, that's great.
And yeah, it's, I think, reversed now for the first time in a very, very long time, that the amount of conversions is now eclipsing the amount of people leaving the faith.
Yep.
So you can, and this is a phenomenon that is hitting the younger generation. So
of course
there is.
Yeah, austerity creates value, right? Everybody thinks that the past was a time of prosperity and all was good. That's not true, right? Ultimately, the foundation of all civilization is hardship and conflict, right? That's what produces the value systems. That's what produces the common ethos. All of that comes in hard times. And for those of you that are in a difficult spot, you're being initiated, right? You are selected. You were chosen because you're special. You're supposed to suffer so that we can get a hold of this mess of a society and transform it into something better. That's why you probably listen to our platform. It's probably why you have the views that you do. So there was somebody like you 200 years ago, 250 years ago, going through similarly harrowing experiences. They overcame it, and you will too.
Absolutely.
Yep.
We will overcome it together, and that's the key.
Amen. Yeah, we were all born at the exact moment that we needed to be born, which is good. So we are going to move on to super chats here in just a moment. So get your last minute super chats in, but first, let's open up the pipe bomb.
Yeah, you're on your own.
Do we have any, should I put on an anthrax shield just in case? Okay, I got to take these off or else I won't be able to do it.
Let's all talk about Dave now.
No, stop it.
I'm liking his black on black.
I know, he's actually pulling this off.
Glass.
He is wearing flip-flops though.
Of course he is. Of course he is. He's been excited about that box for the last week.
I'm legit nervous, but apparently this is from a reliable.
I think we can say that Silent Bear sent this to us. Shouldn't cut.
Well, let's hope it's a new wardrobe for Dave. Desperately need it.
It's just filled with purple paisley shirts.
I swear, if there's glitter in here, I'm going to freak out. Okay, I can hear something like glass in there.
Great.
Can we? How do we?
We really should have done this before the show.
No, we can't. See, I opened something before the show last time, and then they were all like, "Oh, I wanted to see what was in the box."
What's in the box?
I wanted to see you open. Yeah, people were asking in the chat.
Speaking of 1999,
if this was Vince James in the box.
Just a severed bald head.
Okay.
This got dark.
There's one. Okay. Holy shit, dude.
Well, whoever sent it did a damn good job.
Packing it? Yeah, totally.
Wrapped it.
All right, what do we got? You want me to read it? This is either a bribe or bait to lure Vincent James back onto the show. We miss you, buddy. Hope to hear from you soon. P.S. Have you grown any hair yet? Best regards. Violent Bear, I assume that's a typo.
What is this?
Let's see.
I don't know what that is.
Cigars.
Are they?
Yeah.
No, that's...
Look, it says...
Oh, yeah, that's totally cigars. Wait, what kind of cigars are they? Take them out.
They are Drew Estate. Oh, premium Wild Bill cigars.
Oh, okay.
Nice. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Silent Bear.
What is this?
What, Rebecca, what was that movie that you mentioned in your monologue?
Tokyo Story.
Tokyo Story. Yeah, I have not seen that.
Anything else
I'll have to check that out.
No.
This is heavy as fuck.
It's a fantastic film.
And it's not some kind of anime thing.
No, it's from 1953.
Okay. All right. Just
Look
check.
at how many layers of
From the
boxes.
masterful director Ozu. Look at this. Are these all Mexican?
Ooh.
Yep. It's the good stuff. Thank you for not blowing us up, Silent Bear.
Mexican Fanta and Mexican Sprite.
And Mexican Coke.
Where's the cocaine? Awesome.
Thanks, buddy. Oh, I was actually kind of worried about that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's awesome. Thank you for the, here, let me, if I get rid of Cameron for a second, you can see the wonderful box. So thank
We
you
appreciate
very much.
it.
If you want to be like Silent Bear and send us something in real life,
We need to get a lower third for the P.O. box.
it is P.O. Box 853, Post Falls, Idaho, 83877. And I promise not to drink all of these. I will bring some over to Vince's house and
Make sure he
share
knows
the
it's a
wealth.
bribe.
Yeah, I know, right? I think after like, the summer sports season is over, he'll be.
You got to do the
Yeah, that's good shit.
Oh, it's so much better than whatever they're putting out these days. Have you looked at the ingredients of Coke recently?
Yeah, it's
it's
bad.
just
Well, that's
trash.
one of the reasons why I was drinking this Olipop, which we are not being paid for. By
Double fisting
Coca-Cola
sodas.
or Olipop. I need to stop drinking so much soda. All right, getting into some of your super chats. Holy macaroni. Let's start with a couple on entropy here. From Unreconstructed Yeoman, who sent, look, it works today, $25. One. Of Dave, I'm pretty sure I found you and blondes-based Presbyterians that y'all never pointed me towards, jerks. Anyhow, if that was keeping you up at night, y'all can rest easy. But I still want to buy you a cigar when I come to town. Nice. Did you come up and I missed it?
I don't know.
Oh, well, send me an email, info@thebacklash.net. Two, about this push for academics, we don't need more academics. Literally, the last 4 generations have been selecting for academics. We're drowning in them. If we have 1 million lawyers and they get 1 million judgments, it won't mean anything if we are all deracinated wage slaves without any independent resources to stand on for resistance.
Yeah, we do need elites, though.
We need lawyers.
And we need lawyers, yeah.
We do need lawyers.
Imminently,
But,
probably.
I guess the number of commentators and academics. We need people that are going to build shit, do shit.
Just be functional, just be operational. Have the capacity to make shit happen. That's what you want to be.
And be
scrappy. I do share the sentiment that there is a tendency, and I see this a lot from folks online, many of whom are pretty sharp people, but they tend to over-intellectualize everything, right? Everything is some model. And of course, they never leave their house, so they have no idea how things actually work in the real world. So yeah, learn as much as you can so that you're dynamic and you can function in whatever environment you're dropped into, right? That's what you should endeavor to be.
Yeah. Unreconstructed Yeoman sent a third super chat to us on Entropy. What we need are 10,000 communities of Yeoman farmers who can stand on their own land and tell the Jews that, yes, they can, in fact, fuck right off. And
we need
finally,
those too. Yeah.
death to Bitcoin.
I like this guy.
Well, I mean, Peter Schiff has declared Bitcoin to be dead like 18 times, so
Yeah, that's true.
we'll see. Flayer Cake sent $14.88. And now it's not popping up. Gotta watch the replay. Off-topic question for Cam. What exactly do you mean by cash and gold and hold? I don't understand what you're talking about. Gold is at a high. Inflation doesn't seem to be going anywhere. Cameron?
Yeah, so this is the ongoing debate that I have with Dave, and the consensus view, the majority, is with Dave. Their view is that the Fed is going to be forced to print. They're going to have to buy Treasury bonds. They're going to have to lower interest rates. They're going to have to come up with all kinds of vehicles that inevitably will lead us into inflation. I disagree. I think that the paradigm that we're in is a lot closer to the 1930s. In the 1930s, the Rockefellers lost 80% of their net worth. Why? Because they weren't in cash. They were in illiquid assets. They were in real estate, stocks, what have you. When you get into deflationary like spirals, you want to have lots of cash because asset prices come down, right? So in addition to the gold valuation, which you said is at all-time highs, well, guess what? So is everything else, including homes. That means they're unsustainably high. So you want gold because gold is going to perform in whatever scenario, doesn't matter, and it's inevitably going to be part of the next monetary system, however that turns out to be. And you want cash so that you have flexibility. There's one other reason, too, that I say this. I lived in Argentina, okay? And Argentina has experienced hyperinflation more than once. So what does that actually produce on the street? Does everybody forego cash for an asset? Does everybody just go out and buy stocks? Well, no. Actually, lots of people hold wads and wads of cash, because what tends to happen when you get these inflationary spirals is you get banking crises, and the government steps in and they limit the amount of capital that you can actually get. That's the case in Argentina as we speak. So cash means flexibility. Even if you're losing purchasing power to some degree, if you have cash, you have flexibility to buy food, to buy groceries, and inevitably, in my view, or ultimately, to buy assets that are going to fall in value. That's where I think we're headed. So cash, gold, and hold. The hold part is don't entertain, don't get adventurous, don't speculate, don't be too risky, don't get into stocks and AI and what have you, because it's just too dangerous.
The hold part is to hold until there's blood in the streets and everyone is freaking out, and stock and bond and all these prices have gone in the shitter. And then if you have cash, you can buy when there's blood in the streets. So anyway, okay, moving over. We'll come back to Entropy in case you want to send us a super chat over there. I think this is a missed super chat from the Monday show. Reinhardt sent $50.
There you go.
I think it's too late to change the narrative now. The harder the Jews squeeze, the more white grains of sand will slip through their fingers.
I love Reinhardt.
He's great. Yeah, I don't think I read that one, so sorry about that.
Sorry about that.
We read it today. Purple Haze sent $100. Thank you for the big super chat. Is Vince ever coming back?
I don't know if Vince is ever even coming back to politics.
Well, I'm going to have to bring all of the Mexican Coke and cigars to his house and see if I can bribe him. I think he'll come back on the show when, like I said, when sports winds down, maybe like winter time or something.
Well, don't you have like a weekly date to rub Idaho tallow on his head?
His feet.
Ugh.
It's a foot rubbing session.
That's so much gayer.
Yeah, I know.
Well, maybe not.
It does help with the eczema, though.
Do you remember that time he made us put makeup on him?
Yeah.
On his shiny head.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we miss Vince. Vince is he's doing great though. I just saw him a couple days ago. He was sitting in the basement crunching numbers on vaccine data statistics and like reading FBI crime reports. So he is on cloud nine. Righteous Muffin sent $10. Dave says no simming for blonde, then does a photo shoot of her so that he can use her pictures in the thumbnails. Dave, do your hands hurt from rubbing them together so hard?
Hey, we hired that out.
We did hire that out. We had a good friend of the show come by and do some photos. Thank you, Righteous Muffin. Bill Biz sent $25. When we see Israeli support of returning pedos, it is not hard to understand the Weimar sentiment of many years ago. By the way, Dave skipped 2 of my last 3 power and super chats. Let's try for 50%.
How is that possible?
I will name search Bill Biz and at the end of this, and we'll make sure that we get them all. Book Track Groove sent $10. Need more shotgun weddings. People get too worried about how to spend for the wedding and overdo it. It's better to have a small wedding than a wedding with a large debt of $75,000 to $110,000.
That's crazy. I eloped, and let me tell you, it was awesome.
Yeah, we kept our budget pretty low.
Whole thing.
Were you
cost
at our wedding?
$5,000. I couldn't go for some reason.
No, James Alsop was like one of my best men, though. That was fun. That was a good wedding.
We miss him too.
Yeah, another guy that just dropped off the face of the earth.
Got to do it sometimes. He walked so we could run.
Don't spend lots of money on your wedding.
I eloped in New York City. The whole thing, top to bottom, cost $5,000. And we had an amazing dinner at a multiple star Michelin restaurant. It was awesome.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, so many people. It's like, if you're going to spend $110,000 on a wedding, bro, just put it in for a down payment on a house or something. Yeah. What are you doing?
You can still have a beautiful garden wedding. George,
in your backyard, or like, I don't know, just use the parish hall. Like, just get married in the church.
Right.
That's $20. The stipend, maybe $100.
Yeah.
So that's cheap.
And
You're
don't
not doing
get a
any
diamond.
of this like fancy. Oh, we're gonna get this wedding venue in Muir Woods and spend like $50,000 for it. That's
so I
crazy.
called the Fry Museum in Seattle. That's where I wanted to get married, and the venue was $20,000.
Yeah, no.
I was like, I'm gonna elope, and I'm not getting a diamond.
Don't do that. If you're gonna spend crazy money like that, you could do it at Atlas Bullion and get some gold and hold onto it until the market.
That was close to something. It was almost there.
Righteous Muffin sent $5. I've been using Power Chat from your website, but I would like to know which way of sending super chats takes the least amount of money from you. I know that YouTube takes 30%, so I don't want to use them.
We love you.
Well, actually, thanks for asking that, because the way to send us the most money with the least fees is actually this crypto super chat app thing that we had developed.
I hate you, Dave.
You can send your name and your message and how much money you want it to be.
Dave is a crypto Jew.
And then you can pay it with Bitcoin payment server, and you can use Tether and Bitcoin. And it's great. And it basically takes maybe 3 cents out of the transaction, as opposed to Power Chat, which takes 20%. YouTube takes 30%.
Power Chat takes 20%?
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Those bastards.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Dave Rylestein knows his stuff. Man.
I'm just trying to make the show as profitable as humanly possible.
Oh, okay. So I want to address this. I'm on a tangent. Somebody in the live chat just said, get your wife a diamond. Don't let her be the woman of her group without a diamond. Diamonds are the biggest Jewish scam of all the Jewish scams. The De Beers Company... Yep. There are enough diamonds in the world for every man, woman, and child to have a handful. The rarity of diamonds is because of the De Beers family.
Yes.
Also, now you can create a lab-created diamond. That's redundant. Up to 5 carats. The only reason you can tell it's lab-created is that it's perfect, internally flawless. Yep. The diamond market should collapse. Also, women don't really care about this stuff. I have a beautiful sapphire, and everybody's happy with it.
I remember when I was... because I've been pretty into this BDS stuff for like a while. I mean, as best as I can. I'm not perfect, okay? But I remember when I was getting my wife her ring, I specifically went to the shop and asked, can we make sure that this is not an Israeli diamond?
Yeah.
And he said that he wasn't allowed to tell me the country of origin until it was sold.
Right. Yeah. I don't think you could ever even know that.
And of course, when we get the GIS paperwork, it was from Israel.
Yeah,
Thank you very much. You know, they've got a monopoly on that whole thing. It's a pain in the ass. Anyway, Righteous Muffin sent $5. Cameron, I don't care about the fat blacks that get gobs of money for food stamps, nor do I care about the poor fat whites that get it. Let them starve. Until the system is fixed to help working families that can't make it, then I don't care. Yeah, the entitlement programs in this country are crazy.
What was the name of that? I think he was from Oklahoma. He was a senator. I'll have to remember his name, but he had all these charts showing government spending. God, I wish I could. Was it Coburn? Maybe it was Coburn. Anyway, the guy had phenomenal charts, and he would just bring them out to the Senate floor and just go through all of the spending. We have like 5 welfare departments, 75 welfare programs. Yeah, it was just insane. So yeah, it's going to get cut. That's what's going to happen.
It has to.
And when it does, it's going to be painful for sure. It's going to be like Greece in 2011.
Yep. No, it's not just that. I remember I read an article from my former boss, Wayne Hoffman, that came out this week. And sorry, I burped. I've been drinking Mexican Coca-Cola.
Disgusting.
Anyway, Wayne Hoffman did put out a really interesting piece with the Idaho Freedom Foundation this week about, because everybody's talking about this cutting government spending and all this stuff. And in Idaho, something like 20% of most of the state budgets are for the pension programs. And so this idea of phasing out the pension program, and doing something that's a little bit more competitive with the market, because if you're in the private sector, you're not getting a full benefits retirement package from wherever it is that you're working, Guitar Center, Home Depot. They're not.
Hustle, Dave.
Those of you that do not think or have no faith that the baby boomers can get red pilled or maybe even black pilled, well, you just wait and see what happes when they start cutting their pensions.
Yeah.
They're going to get it real fast.
Oh boy.
And we don't have the money for it. We do not have the money to pay these liabilities. Anyway, Lord Brobert sent $50. I've been following Blonde since 2015 through the MC era and followed you here. You run a fantastic show, and I've learned a ton watching your content. Y'all's influence even led me to the church.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad to hear that.
Orthodoxy.
That's great. And I'm glad to hear that, yeah. I'm still salty about this Matt Christensen thing. I did like a whole tweet on it the other day and then deleted the tweet.
Nice. Don't be salty.
How am I not supposed 10-year relationship dissolved? How am I not supposed to be pissed off?
Isn't he not doing his show anymore?
No, he put out some video about how
he's taking a sabbatical.
Yeah,
he's taking some time to think.
Because he's trying to be humble and gratitude and blah fucking blah. It's like what pisses me off most about people in the sphere is when they fuck up monumentally and then they don't take any responsibility.
Oh, kind of like taking hundreds of thousands of Russian dollars and then simping
whatever.
for Israel.
He wanted to blame me for all that. I told him it was stupid. I was like, who is this funder? This is dumb. Don't do this. And he's like, well, I'm finally getting the money that I deserve because of my civic nationalist opinions. I don't know. Cameron talks about it all the time, but it's so obvious what's going to happen to people that don't talk about it.
By the way, if the Qataris would like to start sending us money, or the Russians for that matter, I'm still waiting on my check from Vladimir Putin, P.O. Box 853, Post Falls, Idaho,
really.
3877.
Where's our Russian funding?
Where's our Russian money, Putin? Yeah. Pooty boy.
Did you guys read the transcript of the Alaska summit?
A little bit. It seemed like it wasn't particularly eventful.
I mean, but if you want to see how business is done in the real world, if you want to become somebody of substance, read Putin's brief speech, and you can get the transcript online, and then read Trump's. The contrast between the two, I think, really is the contrast between the West and the rest right now. Putin mentioned our history. He was very respectful. Putin is a measured, calculating man, whether you love him or you hate him, but he had a very specific objective. He mentioned the time and place. He mentioned the history of America and Russia during the Second War. He mentioned when we bought Alaska from the Russians. He mentioned the geography. Then Trump comes on and Trump says, we're the greatest country in the world. The people with me are amazing. We're the hottest economy in the world. And that's all, folks.
Wow.
Unreal.
Wow. And that part was not televised. I did not see any clips from that.
Well, one man, and I'm emphasizing this a bit because there is a gap right now. There's a leadership gap, and you see evidence of that everywhere, right? People don't really know who to look to, and they're looking to a lot of characters in social media and online. But if you look at this contrast between Trump and Putin, Trump is a social media person. He says ridiculous things. He exaggerates all the time. He overpromises, right? He doesn't do his homework. He wasn't prepared for that summit at all. He didn't know anything about Russia's demands, right? He probably didn't know anything about Russian history or culture or understand the underlying causes of the conflict. Whereas Putin prepares diligently for all of his meetings. If you watch any of his press conferences, his interactions with foreign leaders from around the world, this is a man who's practiced, who's studied in his profession. He may not be as dynamic or exciting as people on social media, but that's what leadership looks like. That's why his country is ascendant and our country is a clown show.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. Righteous. Okay, what's going on? We just got another super chat in the middle of me pressing the button. Righteous Muffin sent $5. Dave, when the shit hits the fan and everything collapses, how is gold going to help? People need food, housing materials, and other products. Why would people go to gold instead of barter and trading for materials? Gold will be useless like the dollar.
I can answer this one for you, Dave. Let me answer this because this is a question that a lot of people ask, and it's a perfectly rational question, right? You have a rock, it's shiny. What are you going to do with it? When financial crises happen, what tends to occur is there is a credit freeze. The banks, they close up, all right? There are bank holidays. This is what happened during the Great Depression. When that occurs, you tend to get surrogate credit systems that spring up. When I say surrogate, I mean basically any business that has excess cash, right, all of a sudden becomes operationalized as a substitute bank. If you have gold and silver, it doesn't just protect you against your currency depreciating or devaluing, but you can take that gold and silver and you can go to a precious metals dealer and exchange your gold and silver for hard currency, which you will then use to buy food and groceries when other people, all their money is stuck in a bank that's been shut for some indefinite amount of time. These things have happened. One other example that's amazing, if you think about it, happened in Ireland in the 1970s. In the 1970s, Ireland had a financial crisis. The banks shut down, and it was the pubs that became the surrogate credit system because they had extra cash on hand, and they were literally handing out loans of cash because everybody was desperate since the banks were closed. That's why you have gold and silver. You have it on your person, and you can exchange it with these precious metals dealers, which are surrogate credit systems, for hard currency so that you can buy the goods and services that you need. That's why.
Yep. No, I mean, it's not a bad idea. I mean, especially with what's going on with the dollar, this idea of inflating our way out of the dollar. People are actively losing trust in the dollar. They are becoming more and more aware that it is fiat money, that it's made out of nothing, and people aren't going to want to exchange their time, their materials, and their labor for something that can just be debased.
It's a good question, right? But you have to look historically and understand that the nature of how banking systems, credit systems fail. And technically or typically speaking, when that happens, they shut down, right? And by the way, if you read the Fed's white papers, there's active discussion of closing the credit system, of creating capital controls, right? Some people refer to this as fiscal dominance. Basically, you create a closed network in which you control who comes in and who goes out of it. Gold operates outside of that system, just like Bitcoin, but in a different way.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. Anonymous sent $5. If you know, I think you say this, ASCII, ASCII, use squares, diamonds for true or false. Make German windmill stamps on pencil erasers. Stamp 7 by X, top to bottom, left to right. Leave the 8th blank. This could apply. Hold on. This could apply to a simple printing press. Enjoy free speech. I think I know what this guy means, but that's interesting. Yeah. Little how-to guide. Very good. Righteous Muffin sent $10. Before we started using gold for computers and chips, gold was just a pretty stone that we added a random value to, just like paper money. Prove me wrong, Dave. Sorry, this is from Righteous Muffin. He sent $10. I might not have said that. I I don't know, man. Gold has been used for like 5,000 years as a medium of exchange. So I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon. It's also in the Bible. It's in the Bible as money. So.
Well, so the way gold typically works, right, is not that it's exchanged. It's that it is the foundation of whatever the currency system is that you're using. And so there is a relationship that pegs that currency that is denominated in gold, okay? There's some kind of relationship that's established. Bankers tend to establish that, maybe central bankers, maybe commercial banks, what have you. But ultimately, that's what creates the foundation of your credit system, and that fluctuates. A major criticism of the gold system after World War I is that they didn't properly adjust the gold dollar ratio or the gold currency ratio. And that's probably true, but that's an arbitrary number. That can change. The point is that you have something that underlies or baselines that currency. If you have nothing, that's when you get into hyperinflationary scenarios, or that's when you get massive devaluation, which is what we're experiencing in the United States.
Yeah. And I was also going to just add to it and say that, talking about gold, having these alternative uses for computers and chips, guess what's used even more is silver. Silver is in all of these EV, what do you call them? Not EV. Well, they are in EVs, but solar panels, computers,
iPhones,
iPhones, camera equipment, all of this stuff. And it's also used in like F-35s and torpedoes. There's a whole website, I think, called like the silverwars.com or something like that Cameron sent me. And we do not have enough silver. And so if gold goes up, silver is going to be much more volatile than gold. So anyway, just, be prepared, because whatever we got going on right now ain't going to be around for, I don't think, much longer. Phil the Thrill sent $50. Thank you very much. I watched Frody Midyard and Mark Weber's weekly show on Odyssey for my Russia-Ukraine analysis. For some reason, Frody has no use for Putin, but it's still a good listen. Is that Mark Weber from the Institute for Historical Review?
I don't know.
That'd
I'm
be
familiar
cool.
with Frody.
Seen it.
Yeah, I know Frody. I haven't spoken to him in a couple of years, but I hope he's doing well. He was doing that whole guide to culture thing, which was very cool back during COVID. Glad to see he's still doing stuff. Yeah, Mark Weber. I think he's. I thought he was the Institute for Historical Review guy. I wasn't sure that he was still around, but that's cool. Very cool. I've got a friend from church that used to do all the catering for the IHR stuff down in California. Whenever they'd have a conference, she'd like make muffins. Anyway, Righteous Muffin sent $10. Did y'all listen to Oy Vey by Lucas Gage? If not, then I demand you play it for all of us right now.
Isn't he? We're not going to play it, but
I listened to it.
Isn't he coming on?
No, he canceled his trip. He was going to come up here. He was going to be sitting right here with us. I think he was also going to go on Red Ice, but he had a VA appointment.
Oh.
He didn't want to miss it. And apparently the VA is kind of dodgy about when they'll actually
Probably
show
takes
up.
6 months to get an appointment.
Yeah. So anyway, we're still gonna work on getting him up here. And if not up here, IRL, then we'll just, do a Google Hangout or something with him. Righteous Muffin sent $5. I listened to Nick's show from last night, and he addressed this issue. It was really good. And his main point was, with all of the continued disappointments of the GOP, why should we vote for them? Why should we care about the lesser of two evils? Yeah, completely agree. Have a clip, would play it, but it's late for Cameron, so I'm not gonna.
Poor Cameron.
We need to start wielding our power. We need to stop voting for the GOP reliably. I completely agree with Nick. We need to...
Everything that you do. So, a lot of people ask me, what can I do? Look, network. Create a community. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be a fitness community. It could be a running community. It could be a book club. Create a community of like-minded people. I am currently in Prague, all right? Prague had a successful revolution in 1989. It's called the Velvet Revolution. It was led by a playwright named Václav Havel. When you fly into Prague, you land in an airport named Václav Havel because he led a liberation movement inside Czechoslovakia. Okay, now it's split in two. But when he launched the Velvet Revolution, it was finale, if you will, of a long, I don't know, multi-decade period of time in which political activism that resisted communism went underground. They formed music clubs. They had independent journalism. They had pamphlets that they were handing out home to home. And effectively, because political opposition was outlawed, they had to go outside the system. We face a very similar kind of political dynamic, right? The online right is online for a reason, because essentially the two-party system, which is really a uniparty as we know, has captured the state, right? The state isn't in the hands of the nation. It's in the hands of foreign subversive agents, right? Or it's in the hands of a technocracy. However you want to look at it, it doesn't pay to play. So we've created a parallel structure. That's what you should do too. And that parallel structure over periods of time absorbs more and more energy, and eventually it becomes something political. That was the Velvet Revolution. They called it the Civic Forum. And the Civic Forum, which was not a political party, which did not interact with the communists that ran Czechoslovakia, eventually became the interim government, and eventually Václav Havel became president of Czechoslovakia, okay? This is how revolutionary change happens. It happens outside the system. Forget about politics. It doesn't matter. Who cares who is elected? It's just rinse and repeat. Organize outside the system in ways that are completely unconventional, and eventually that community acquires political energy. This is the future. This is the mode of politics that we're in. I call it metapolitics.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. We need to defenestrate Alex Karp. Just thinking of Prague and the defenestration of Prague when they threw all the bad people out the window, you know. Anyway. Prague's cool. Go to Prague if you can.
Prague is cool.
Righteous Muffin sent $5. The GOP is just the Democrats doing the speed limit. Nick pointed out, which we all know, the GOP pander to everyone except for white people. Why continue to vote for them? It was a good rant. Y'all need to listen to it. I doubled down on that. You should listen to Nick's show from last night. Listen
of course.
to all
I'm
of
only
Nick's
like
shows.
40 minutes in, but
Very good. Robert sent $25. As a fellow millennial, I must say we are vindicated on the boomers.
Totally. Yeah.
Even after all of the debt that they knowingly passed down, they still white-knuckle their power and wealth unlike other generations. Ironic, they thought voting for Trump would absolve them of their sins.
And he was just more of the same.
I think there's a lot of truth in how he phrased it at the end. I think Trump in many ways was a metaphor for absolution. And even now, you get this sort of contrived sense that, well, I've done my duty. I voted for Trump, and now he's going to clean up the mess. It's incredible, that level of cognitive dissonance, right? That you would think, however capable or incapable you think Donald Trump is, that you think one man could clean up the mess of the last 80 years. It's ridiculous.
Foolish.
Never going to happen.
Yep. And when the boomers find out, and I've been seeing it happen kind of one by one, it's starting to dawn on them that actually voting for Trump isn't the vindication that they thought that it would be. They get depressed.
I know.
They get very depressed.
Honestly, I wonder if it's even worth it to wake up boomers.
No, it's better to focus on the young kids.
I know.
No, for sure. Like the 16 to 18-year-olds, like the young kids, they're nuts right now. They're great. They're raging. They're way further to the right than we are. And, I think that the kind of like anti-Zoomer propaganda that the boomers disseminate is mostly full of shit.
I don't know.
These kids are
I
incredible.
jaywoked my mom, and I think it was probably a mistake.
Yeah. I think my dad and I both kind of, we both kind of figured it out around the same time. It's interesting. Get out of here. Anonymous said, $5. Hello, I am an up-and-coming YouTuber, but as the result of firing my racist co-host and losing my Russian sugar daddy, my views have quartered. I just wanted to ask, how many months should I go on holiday until it gets better? Thanks, guys. L'chaim.
You should issue a public apology to the person you slandered and tried to destroy reputationally, and then you should let your career go up in flames so that I can laugh at you.
Okay. Well, that is some amazing advice. I would be taking it if I were an up-and-coming YouTuber.
People think that women are capable of forgiveness. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I can be scorned about the same thing for like an infinite amount of time.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have a bad memory, so I forget why I'm pissed at people.
What?
It's weird, man.
What is that like?
Yeah, it's bizarre because I'm like Irish and Italian. So I'm quick to anger and supposed to be like long to forget, but like give it 6 months and I'll forget why I was pissed at the person.
Oh no.
And it's like kind of funny.
I have
then
like
I'll, see
cataloged lizard memories of the reason people have scorned me.
Women don't forgive. Yeah, if you cross them, you're done, and they never forget it either.
No,
men forgive. You can see if you want to see the difference between men and women. All you have to do is watch UFC, right? Because you'll see two guys that smash each other up in the ring. Going into the ring, there's a lot of theatrics, there's a lot of histrionics for sure. Some of that's contrived, but oftentimes a lot of these guys, they go into the ring, they hate each other. At the end of the match, after they've beaten each other to a bloody pulp, they tend to become friends. Women do not function that way. If they hate you, it's for life.
Yikes.
For life, like any opportunity that arises to fuck that person over. For life.
So I guess I shouldn't be tweeting about revoking women's right to vote.
No, that's fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because all the women that see it are going to hate me forever now.
I don't know.
Yeah, see, this also
it's
makes
the personal wrongs.
This also maybe, I guess, but
remember, men are nice to your face. Excuse me, men are mean to your face and they don't mean it. Women are nice to your face and they don't mean it.
That is a fact.
That is absolutely true. Reinhardt sent $50. If you believe in the cause of saving the white race in America, but you aren't a member of RTTL or Patriot Front, stop sitting on your hands and get involved. There's so much we can do, and the ground is fertile for rapid growth.
God, Reinhardt's the best.
What is the progress of Return to the Land? Do we know?
They're doing pretty well. I see video updates frequently showing they're building a kind of like an outdoor pavilion for them to have community events. And they're, from what I understand, hoping to have that pavilion set up by October because they're going to be having some sort of big gathering, maybe like an open house type of deal. But yeah, Return to the Land's doing good. They got investigated by their Jewish-backed attorney general in, was it Missouri? Is that what? The Ozarks, right?
Arkansas.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, and the attorney general, even though he wanted to stop them, came back and said, actually, they're not doing anything illegal. So looking good, looking very good. Support them. I think they still have their GoFundMe up. So that'll be good. Midnight in Exile sent $5. You're not crazy. Tenet was an obvious honeypot. It only got the arrogant and naive.
Yeah, I mean, it was so stupid.
We'll pay you $100,000 an episode. And what do you want back in return? Nothing. That's it. We'll just give you the money.
I remember him saying to me, like, I'm finally getting paid off for the grind. And I was like, buddy, that's not how this works.
That's not what's happening. No. It's always transactional. Anyway, except for with Super Chats. Fourth from the Sun sent $25. Been catching the replays lately. Y'all are doing awesome. Cameron's grounded observations are a godsend, and I appreciate the book and movie suggestions he gives. It's the only way out is through.
That's right.
Yep. That is absolutely true. Yep.
Yeah, Cameron is smart and much more well-read than I am, I feel like. But Vessel sent $10. Never miss an episode, even though exclusively replay gang.
That's okay, bud.
Thanks for all you do. No, it's okay. And make sure, if you want to listen to the replays, on our website at thebacklash.net/subscribe, you can find us on all of your favorite apps. Also in the About section, you can go down to platforms. And please make sure you follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and leave us positive reviews. Thank you. That would be wonderful.
Don't let Dave's Elton John eyeglass fool you. He's got the highest IQ of three of us.
He does have the highest IQ. It pains me.
It gets me into trouble sometimes, though. I can be very retarded.
It's
the bell curve thing where, like, you sometimes you're so smart you're dumb, and that happens to me all the time. Matt C's Jewish son sent $5. Love the show. How do we stop the lies about Israel online? Accusation of starvation are outrageous. Hamas put their missiles on Gazan children's stomach, and we phone ahead of time that they're, I don't know what that word is. Uber Eats? Uber Eats. Uber Eats might be a little late. What gives? Yeah. Speaking of, and this is not funny, Cameron was talking about this earlier, I think before we went live. There is some new report out. I don't know if you can telegram that to me. I'll put it on the screen cam. But there's a new report out that 19,000 children have been killed by the Israelis at this point. Oh, and speaking of, that reminds me, not to make this section any longer than it has to be, but a new video has come out showing who is fighting in the Israeli army. Let's take a look.
I'm from Sweden. From Brooklyn, New York. From Los Angeles, California.
From Miami, Florida. Why did you decide to leave your home and come join the idea?
So you're from everywhere but there.
Switzerland.
Good Lord.
Yeah. And there is, it was news earlier today I saw on the feed that Israel is planning a new recruitment campaign here in America designed to radicalize and recruit American Jews to go kill Palestinian children and women in Gaza. And I also believe that I saw news that the Israelis are starting a new wave of assault on Gaza today. So,
but they're not winning the propaganda war. I put that article in the Telegram. It's in there, so you can bring it up. Look, I don't think anybody believes what the Israelis are saying. I think that ship has sailed. That being said, as we've discussed on our program since the beginning, the Zionist control of the government is at all-time highs. There's no question about that. Their power has been consolidated. So there's a lot of anti-Israeli sentiment, and the awareness of the Zionist problem, I think, is also at all-time highs. But it's not organized opposition, and it's certainly not opposition that can disrupt their agenda, at least not in any meaningful sense at the time being. But the solution here is the problem. The Israelis are going to overreach. They're going to start, or restart, I should say, this war against Iran. We are going to be dragged into it. There is going to be a price to be paid. We're going to lose U.S. troops or U.S. sailors. That's going to happen. And when that happens, that's going to be a bridge too far. And God knows what else may happen. I mean, maybe that will generate a broader regional war. Maybe it goes global. Who knows? But the point is that the Israelis are going to do it to themselves. And I don't think we're going to have to wait much longer for that. In the court of public opinion, they've already lost.
That's so true.
So true. Let's see here. Anonymous sent $5. You might have missed my super chat. I'm an up-and-coming based YouTuber and would appreciate the shout-out. Well, we got to you. Just give us a moment. Give us a minute. Hold on. We'll get to everything. Hold on. Anonymous sent $10. How do you rebuild after a modern financial collapse? Any skills we should be learning or businesses we should be building?
Practical skills.
The financial collapse is the answer, right? Everybody, again, I've talked about this before. I know I'm repeating myself, but what we fear is the answer, right? We need a reset. We need the banks to blow up. We need to definancialize. Once we do that, once we disintermediate Wall Street and Silicon Valley, then we can get back to long-term investing. Then we can start building infrastructure. Then we can empower the white population to be the inventive, dynamic force that it is. That will happen in due time. But first, we've got to definancialize. We have to have the financial system crumble. It's not the end, it's the beginning.
Yep.
Yeah, people got rich during the Great Depression. I mean, the opportunities will arise. And I guess the thing that I would suggest, at least what we're trying to do in the Hargraves household, is just to be flexible. Cameron always says to be dynamic. I feel like it's being scrappy. Like you can work in a lot of different social situations. You can talk to anybody. You can do a lot of things. You have a lot of like mundane skills. That seems to be the best way to prepare for us, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I think like for me anyway, and by the way, next week we will be starting selling mugs.
Mug Club.
We will be starting the Backlash Mug Club, I think starting next week. I found someone who makes Muggs, a listener of the show who already has the equipment for that. So we were going to start there and then use the proceeds from that to start scaling up and making some t-shirts and, some uncancelable merch. But I think that that's one thing right there. Like I could not find a merch company that wasn't like gay, So, okay, well, we'll build one then. Fuck you. Yeah. And so I think that there's like a lot of opportunity. Look around your towns, look around where you live. And if they're, make a list of all of the businesses, what their values are. And if you find a business that exists with a monopoly and they don't have your values, then that should be something you look at. How do I make this kind of business? How can I compete with them? How can I provide that good or service to our community without having to give our money over to someone that will weaponize it against us in the future? That's my thought.
Look, the economy as structured today has been financialized. What does that mean? It means that if you want to make money, you need to buy meme stocks, right? You need to learn about financial arbitrage. You need to understand foreign exchange markets, all that sort of crap, none of which really adds any economic value, okay? Going forward, it's going to be hard skills. It's going to be science, technology, engineering, math. It's going to be learning construction. It's going to be knowing how to do things with your hands. All of those skills that have been sort of sidelined over the last 50 years since we financialized, they're going to come back with a vengeance. So that's where you want to place your focus and make yourself as capable as possible. As I said earlier, right? Whether you're in the wilderness and you're trying to build a house for, a family that you're trying to build, or a family that you just started, or you're in the city and you're trying to protect your family, right? Or you're trying to create a sort of self-contained space, whatever. Try to learn everything about your environment, whether it's rewiring your house or it's installing lighting or whatever. You should be as hyper capable and cross-functional as you possibly can, and network with other people who have the skills that you don't. That's what you should do. Just practical, common sense things like that.
Yep. Hold on a second. We are doing some things here. Becca bitching in chat sent $5. Once he sent me to the cellar and then locked the door behind me, and I said I couldn't come out until I memorized the hoax hate segment for that week. I had to make something up about a black woman attacking a midget on a unicycle, and he believed it.
And he finally let you out of the cellar.
Oh, that's good.
We're both free from the cellar, buddy.
Righteous Muffin sent $5. Cool. Gold is a pretty stone. Why wouldn't we back our dollar by the production of some sort of agriculture or manufacturing product? Why something like gold or silver that serves no purpose? Well, the purpose of, first of all, silver does serve other purposes, like weapons manufacturing, electronics, things like that. Gold's primary purpose is as money. Right, that is its purpose, is to be a store of value. It's commonly recognized as money. That being said, I do think that there was a man in the 1920s or 30s that came up with a different system of backing money with labor, and I think that was very interesting, and it clearly did some good for his country at the time. But
well, commodities tend to have boom and bust cycles. So if you're going to peg currencies to them, they may boom and bust too. So that right off the bat is one reason. The other reason is sort of what Dave said. Gold, not just in terms of history and provenance, it's always been universally recognized as gold. It is today, right? You could take gold anywhere in the world and exchange it for value. Why is that? Because gold has intrinsic value.
Yes.
Right? It has intrinsic value. Now, some people may say, well, that's just a social convention. Maybe it is. It could also be that gold has unique properties, chemical properties, that other metallic substances do not have. Who knows? But the point is that it has that intrinsic value that has entrenched it in every major financial system that we've had in recorded human history. That suggests that trend is going to continue. But commodities, they boom and they bust. So you probably don't want to peg your currency to something like that.
Yep. Oh, no, here we are. We are here. Okay. Sorry.
Here we are. We are here.
We are here. I was just making sure that our crypto super chat app thing was working. I got a message that it might not be. It is. Never mind. Righteous Muffin. I already read that one. Oh, is that it? That might be it. Now, hold on. Let me do a quick Bill Biz.
Let's let Cameron go.
Okay.
All right, guys. I'm headed
Good night, Cameron.
out.
See ya.
It's been real.
Yes, it has.
Perfect. Next time. Bye, folks.
Bye-bye.
Yes. Okay. Just making sure. Bill Biz sent $25. When I see Israeli, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we read that. And this is where he's saying that we didn't read 2 of my last 3 power super chats. We did read the super chat about Mark Collette being deported from Sweden.
Ridiculous.
Although I think maybe we missed that on a particular episode. Mark Collette was detained and deported from Sweden, banned from entering 27 European countries for 15 years. Ironically, the Schengen area. Yeah, we read this.
Last week, right?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
And then Bill Biz said, on the run, just a little support. Have to watch back later. Thank you.
Thank
and these
you.
are all $50 super chats.
We appreciate you, Bill Biz.
Bill Biz also sent $50. This was back on the 23rd of July. Greg Johnson commented today that Marcus Folan had been detained and denied entry to Canada. The Golden One's lifestyle about as squeaky clean as it gets. Yeah, we've read this.
Yeah.
Maybe you
That's
are
crazy. That's
sending
just-
super chats in a way that is weird and different.
But we did read those, Bill Biz.
And I'm just checking.
Thank you for your support.
Yes, we read Book Track Grooves one. Let me check our... Ooh, we have quite a few on YouTube. Thunderstorm on YouTube sent $9. A certain group collects a percentage off of every dollar printed since December 23rd, 1913. What happens to that money? Well, it gets sent to Israel.
Yeah.
And then it gets sent back through AIPAC.
Yeah.
And then it's used to buy and blackmail our politicians.
And to send Israeli pedophiles back to Israel.
Very true. Peteljka sent 30 euros.
Nice.
Based. Here's some grubby euro shekels to support you through super chats. Also, while you're on the topic of shekels, don't know if you guys have seen, but the Israeli military is considering recruiting in the United States and amid significant soldier shortages.
Whatever. Fine. Go. I don't give a shit.
Hey, yeah. Less here. Go. I mean, I don't know why anybody would want to leave America to go fight in a war. Anyone's war, even for the United States. We haven't fought a war that really fucking matters.
Because of Jewish tribalism.
Yeah, very true. Romega sent $49.99. I'm doing it. Thank you. It's basically the $50 club. God bless you guys.
God bless you.
That was in stereo.
We do not smell great, like as a pair here.
I need to take a shower.
Is it me?
It's me.
Are you sure?
I didn't put on deodorant today. Sorry.
I just switched deodorants to one that's like all crunchy, and I don't think it's working.
Yeah, I tried the tallow company, made some prototype deodorant.
Yeah.
With
tallow?
No, yeah, with the tallow, but also what's it called? Charcoal.
Oh, did it work?
It worked great, but it stained the pits of my shirt black.
Oh, okay,
so I think they're back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
Anyway, Peteljka. I don't know how to say that. This boomer, millennial, Gen Z strife you are talking about reminds me quite a lot of Chinese Revolution and their generational conflict. Could the usual suspects be using this hostility to their own benefit?
Fuck, I should have talked about that in my monologue.
Damn, that would have been good. Don't trust anyone over 35, right?
Yeah.
And now in America, it's don't trust anyone under 35 because they might be a groiper. Yeah, we've seen that play out here locally here in Idaho. They just canceled all the young people. It's fucking incredible. Thunderstorm sent $9.99. New slogan circulating as "See a Sweet Shoot." SUITE. I'm screenshotting that. The new slogan circulating is "See a Sweet Shoot." Okay. Thank you for the super chat. Rodney Sheehan sent $4.99. No comment. Thank you very much. And we don't have anything over on the Bitcoin Super Chat server, and we don't have anything. We might have something new. Hold on.
We still have to talk Idaho tallow.
We do. We still have a couple of commercials to read you guys.
Analytical.
Don't tune out yet. Please stay with us. Okay, Entropy, nothing. We do have to thank our sponsors, one of them being North Idaho Tallow Company. If you are sick and tired of skincare that is packed with chemicals you can't pronounce, or skincare owned by BlackRock or some other Jewish financial company. At North Idaho Tallow, we keep it simple with grass-fed tallow, time-tested ingredients, and zero junk. Our soaps, balms, and lip balm are packed with bioavailable nutrients your skin actually needs. No fillers, no endocrine disruptors, just rugged, reliable skincare that works. Ditch the synthetic garbage and switch to North Idaho Tallow Company. Get yours at idahotallow.com and sign up for their Soap of the Month Club. And thank you for everybody that does. It helps keep this show on the air, and we appreciate it. Also need to mention our other sponsor, Antelope Hill Publishing, fighting to keep history alive against the regime of anti-white censorship and to publish a new generation of dissident, radical, and right-wing researchers, philosophers, polemicists, and writers. They have an eclectic catalog that includes veteran right-wing authors and academics like Carrie Bolton, Dr. Ricardo Duchesne, and Paul Kersey, as well as newer figures like Lord Miles Routledge of Afghanistan and Josh Neal and Christian Secor, in addition to a long list of original translations or modern reprints of otherwise inaccessible historical works from eras such as Fascist Italy, National Socialist Germany, and even medieval Europe. Their original works include groundbreaking investigations into the causes and funding behind transgenderism and the opioid crisis, books on Christian nationalism and American folktales. Additionally, Antelope Hill also contributes to the regeneration of our culture and rebirth of our family values through their top-quality fiction, including books like Let Them Look West, which I need to start reading very soon, and Worlds Separated, a collection. They have a collection of beautifully, I'm doing too much at once, beautifully illustrated and wholesome children's books, whatever your interest is. You're bound to find books that you like at Antelope Hill, all professionally published, with cover art that will grace your bookshelves. Help us and help our people by checking out companies that share our values and work to preserve the birthright of our history. Visit Antelope Hill Publishing today. And just one more final shout out to Atlas Bullion, if we have sufficiently scared the living shit out of you about how bad our economy is and how the financial system is looking like an imminent collapse. Please start stacking gold and silver with atlasbullion.com/backlash. They have diverse subscriptions, silver subscriptions, gold subscriptions, and they even have options down here at the bottom, like Little Legends. You could get your kids signed up and they can start their own little stack of gold and silver. And by the time they are your age, it will be worth a hell of a lot more than it's worth today. So atlasbullion.com/backlash. Thank you. And I believe...
Did we do it? This was our longest show ever.
Probably.
Super long. We're at 3 hours and 10 minutes right now.
Bill Biz.
Nah, I think we got it.
I think we did, but I just want to...
Will Dave's AIDS ever clear up? Not until he stops his life of sodomy.
Bruh. I just want to go to bed.
Well, you can.
Hey, by the way, I didn't die on that boating trip.
Oh, that's right.
The boating trip.
You didn't get blown up with this box. You didn't die on your boating trip.
I didn't.
It's looking up for old Dave Riley.
Yeah, I've got some nice photos,
I swear, if we don't get out of here soon.
Nah, just let me
hustle, Dave. You got no hustle.
I'm working on it.
Oh, there you are.
Here we go. I was driving the boat with the kiddos, with the old man. And then there was nobody out there in the water. It was just us. We threw our kids off the boat. They're traumatized for life now. Aww. But yeah, come up to North Idaho, visit. It's a fun time. I might even take you out on a boat cruise. How about that?
Not with Jack Cruz, though.
Not with Dr. Jack Cruz.
Well, thank you so much.
No boating accidents.
For joining us today. I know it was a long one. We'll be back.
We just got a $50.
Oh, we got to read it then.
Yeah. Tiger Shark sent $50. You are targeting the right demographic. Go team.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah, 25 to 35, or actually 25 to 45 is our primary audience demographic.
Yep. Okay, cool. You can find us on X at Real Backlash. Find all of our links. Did I just have a stroke? Real Backlash. After 2.5 hours of streaming, I'm like, I can't do this anymore.
Platforms.
Find us on our website. All of our links.
Find us on Rumble and YouTube, please.
No, I don't sound like a retard. Just find all of our links on thebacklash.net. You guys know where to find us. And we'll see you on Monday.
With, I don't know if he's a doctor, but Joel Webbin.
Oh, sweet. Joel Webbin on Monday.
Pastor of Right Response Ministries.
It's going to be a great show. See you then. Bye-bye.
There's another $10 super chat.
Self-hating Jew.
Alien to my nation. Bobby Fischer was a forerunner. Based.
On that note.
You are welcome to watch. All right.
See you later.
See you guys.